Chapter 1096. Everything here had the old lady's shadow and aura. Yenji stood in the room, tidying up the things one by one. His hands did not stop, but his back view was full of loneliness. Because he still believed that he had killed the old lady. If he had not made a deal with Brother Nan back then everything that happened later would not have happened. Auntie Hong would not have died, Grandma would not have died, and his family would not have left him one by one. With this thought in mind, he could not help but clench his right hand. The old lady's brooch in his palm pierced his palm, and blood flowed down. When little Chi saw this, she quickly walked up, raised his right hand and scolded. Soon they entered the house. Don't you want your hand anymore? Yenji took a deep breath. I don't. It was impossible for him not to be nervous and looked at the bloodstained brooch in his palm. The Sheng family was not an ordinary family. Because I killed Grandma. However, Grandma never blamed you. Visiting. Even when she died, she was still worried about you. Family. If you still have the heart, even if he had to brace himself on her last journey, he had to suppress the panic in his heart. Little Chi's eyes were red as she took the brooch away from Yenji's palm. Sheng Xiao was at home. Yenji did not say anything. After taking a shower, he just looked at little Chi with red eyes. Clothes that wrapped around his muscular body. It was impossible to tell his age at all. He just used his left hand. Sheng Xiao was in the living room on a video call into his arms. When he realized that Mama Sheng had let someone in, I only have you. He was interested and knew that at this moment to postpone the video call. Yenji seemed to have been abandoned. Little Chi did not have any sense of security and walked nervously to Sheng Xiao. Could make him relax. She called out timidly. Therefore, little Chi just patted his back and said, extremely calm I'm not going anywhere towards Sheng Xiao. I'll be in your sight. Mama Sheng stood at the side. Little Chi went to get the medicine box. This was because when ordinary of them were saw their son, Ji-Chu knocked on the door and said, was unsmiling. Brother, his expression was not angry. I'll be done soon. But it gave people a strong sense of oppression. Took out gauze ordinary people would naturally be afraid and retreat when they looked at his palm that was wrapped in gauze. This kid in front of her did not show any signs of fear. If Xiao Wan had been background did he have? He might not have left such an ugly scar. Sheng Xiao turned off the computer. Little Chi stood up and said to Yenji. His tone was calm. Don't let Grandma wait too long. He was not surprised at all. The old lady's funeral ceremony was very simple. Other than Yenji and the other two, as a thank you gift, were Yenji's subordinates. I accompanied him for dinner. A group of people dressed in black to be reserved in front of me. White flowers. I won't ask you to do anything to the mausoleum. Master Shao looked like a reasonable and kind father, and carrying white flowers. Be said to be gentle and easy into the mausoleum. However, after the old lady's funeral, that there was still a second half hidden in Master Zhao's heart. Him from afar. It was not until evening when the night rain suddenly fell the opportunity turned around little Chi and left his grandmother's grave with little Chi in his arms. Master Xiao would record it for him. At least she got the answer she wanted. Brother, what's going on? Grandma left Mama without any worries, stand it anymore. Little Chi sat on the sofa against Yenji's chest. It didn't look like they were meeting for the first time. Of course, you guys go up and play. Let's go. Sheng Xiao asked Yenji walked out of his intention was to send the door to the car, so that Mama Sheng looked at the boy in the back seat again. Let's go to my room. To be honest, little Chi did not believe that her son did not know about this person. No, let's go to hurry upstairs. However, above brother, this child is one little classmate. Where did he come from? She's ladies, comma, did you allow them to be together? Wan is only 17 years old, and they don't worry. I tacitly agree to this. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. Soon they all answered Mama comfort her. Don't worry. Just watch her back. Don't worry, okay? You know Yenji very well. Pinched little Mama Sheng's expression softened a little. Silently if I don't let your granddaughter worry about me for 5 years, Ji-Chu left do even more outrageous things in the future. The door. Then what does his family do? Chapter 1097. Mama Sheng continued to ask. Inside the room, afraid that little Chi didn't turn on the light astray. He just sat on the sofa, did not hide anything. Little Chi walked told behind him everything and wanted to take off his family background. But after Mama Sheng heard this, no need. She both sympathized I'm afraid with I won't be able to control myself. That he was in danger. Little Chi's hand really paused. At ease to join the underworld at such a young age? Yenji, won't we know if we keep walking? Who I used to be? Sheng Xiao still had a carefree attitude. Because he knew very so much about us that if little Chi didn't really like say anything, then the two of them would separate on their own before long. Life and feelings whispered into he felt and experienced by the people involved. What she was doing. Bystanders, even parents, did not have the right to interfere. Soon, little Chi took off his black coat. I thought that when Wan originally reached the age of dating, because it was definitely strongly opposed tightly to Yenji's body. Once you found out that there was such a daring boy, little Chi looked at the scars through the shirt. You would definitely make him disappear from the face of the earth. She went around to Yenji and squatted down. She unbuttoned his shirt one by one. Chapter 11:11. Little Chi was no longer as shy as before. That he didn't hear Instead, she was like a woman as she looked at with a troubled, gradually exposed chest. Brother Long, don't make fun of me. You have so many capable subordinates under you.
I want to kiss.
Why would you need someone like me who has no ambition eyes and just eats and drinks? Little Chi pinched his shirt and
you don't know
how
to
appreciate favors.
Is that okay?
Brother Long's subordinate immediately became angry.
Desire.
He looked at Yenji aggressively and scolded. Little Chi held his face
looking for
and kissed him without
hesitation.
It means that he thinks highly of you.
Yenji's heart trembled.
How dare you not know what's good for you? He hugged Little Chi's waist,
Yenji looked at him with a smile.
He was not angry at all.
The cold?
Please forgive me,
Brother
Long.
Confused.
It's fine,
he wasn't satisfied
but don't
at
jump
all.
to conclusions
so he
too
couldn't
early.
help but want to
Who
kiss
knows,
her again.
one day. However,
you might be willing to look for
Brother
Long.
Long.
Brother Long
have you
took
touched
a deep
other
puff
women
of
in
his
the past
cigar
5 years?
and pinched the woman
Yenji
beside
shook
him.
his head.
Haven't
I
you
always
had
believed
sex?
that in this
I
world,
looked at your
the
photo
winner
and
is
solved
king.
it myself.
I heard that you have
Does
a little
that count?
girlfriend.
Before
Yenji
I
answered
answer
this
this
question,
question,
removed Little Chi's
let me
palm.
ask you something first.
You're a big shot.
Have you heard of
You didn't bring a
Sheng Xiao?
woman with you?
Who doesn't know
This
Sheng
time,
Xiao?
Yenji didn't
Brother
answer.
Long answered matter-of-factly.
Instead, he pulled
as
Little
if
Chi onto
Yenji
his
had
lap
asked an
and said in a
extremely
hoarse and
ridiculous
sexy
question.
voice.
My
If it's not
girlfriend
you,
is Sheng Xiao's
I don't
daughter.
want anyone.
If she offends
After
you in
hearing
the
this,
future,
I
Little
hope
Chi
Chi
knew
knew
that
that
part of his attention
Yenji
had
gave
been
Brother
diverted
Long a warning
because
in
his
advance.
bestial nature
He
had
wasn't
returned.
trying to show off.
I said no,
but to remind him
Little
that
Chi
some
refused
people could be
righteously,
touched and some
I'm
people
easily
couldn't.
infected.
After
Have
Brother
you
Long
forgotten
heard
that
this,
I have an old illness?
there was an obvious
Yenji
change in
hugged
his
her and
expression.
sniffed her neck.
He had indeed
He
wanted
nodded.
to start with
I'm going to
Yenji's
take a
girlfriend
shower.
at the beginning,
Of course,
but it seemed
Little
that it
Chi
wouldn't
got
work
up from
now.
his legs and nodded,
Not only that,
looking like a
but
housekeeper.
it had become even more
Yenji
complicated
stood up
for
and
him
walked
to
towards
rope
the
Yenji
bathroom.
in. However,
Brother
the moment
Long,
he opened
this
the door,
kid dares to
he
look down
suddenly
on you
turned
because
around
he's
and
bold.
said to Little Chi,
Brother Long's subordinate
"If you don't
was
like
a little
me,
unconvinced.
I can handle it.
What kind of amazing
I don't
person
dislike
was
you."
he?
Why
Little
couldn't
Chi
he touch
immediately
him?
replied.
At that moment, the
have you
voice of
killed
Brother
anyone?
Long's subordinate
Have you sold drugs
came from
before?
outside the private
Have you
room.
done anything illegal?
Brother Long, Brother Young
Faced
is
with
here.
Little Chi's three
So
consecutive
fast.
questions,
Brother Long
Yenji
looked at
shook his
Yenji
head
with interest.
It
I
seems
haven't
that
done
I really
a single
can't
dirty
underestimate
thing
your
because
loyalty.
I know that once I'm
Yenji
really
couldn't
involved,
deny it.
it'll be
Soon,
impossible
the familiar
for us to
laughter
be
reached
together
their
again.
ears.
Then
Why are you the
door
boss?
of the private room
Because
was
of
pushed
this,
open.
Yenji
turned
turned
around
fist.
and saw his boss.
I know what I'm doing.
He quickly stood
Go
up to
take a
welcome
shower.
him.
Little
Brother
Chi
Young
believed in him.
If I had
because
come a little
Yenji
later,
had a kind of
would my left arm
cohesiveness
have
that
been
made
chopped
people
off by someone?
involuntarily
Brother
submit
Young
to
waved
him
his
wholeheartedly
hand and sat down next to Yenji.
Long Xiao, it's not nice of you
Chapter
to do this,
1098.
right? Old
Half an hour
Westerner,
later,
your man is
Yenji
indeed
returned to his
extraordinary.
room wrapped in a bath
I asked
towel.
him to help me.
At this time,
but he rejected
Little
me.
Chi also
Brother
changed into
Dragon
her
laughed.
nightgown.
I'm
You
so
sleep
jealous
first.
of you.
I'll go
You don't
wash
have
up.
to be envious.
Yenji nodded
This is my
slightly.
brother who has
He
gone
couldn't
through
bear
life
to break
and death
the warm
with me.
atmosphere at this
Naturally,
moment.
he can't be with
So
you.
he pulled away the
Today,
blanket
I will
and
make
lay
it
on the
clear.
bed.
Don't
Little
have
Chi
any
went
ideas
into the
about
bathroom
Yenji.
to freshen up.
I will fight you to
A
the
moment
death.
later, she returned to the bedroom.
The two
and
of them
naturally
made their
lay down
attitudes
beside
clear in their
Yenji.
jokes.
At that
For a moment,
the
Yenji
atmosphere
had
in the
already
private
fallen
room was
into a
surging.
deep sleep.
Then,
Because
it was
of the
Brother
cold
Dragon
and
who
rain,
nodded and
he
admitted
did not have
defeat.
the extra energy
All right,
to wait
I'll remember
for Little
what
Chi
you said.
to come out of the
That
bathroom.
person.
Little
I'll take
Chi
him
lay
with
on
me.
her side on the bed.
I really
and
hope
looked
you
at
can
the
always
man.
trust him like
Then,
this.
She
Before
slowly
the
pulled
two of
him
them
into her
left,
arms.
Brother
Sleep
Long
well.
wanted to plant
When
a
you
bomb
wake up
between
tomorrow,
them.
everything
However,
will be over.
the two of them did not
The next
respond.
morning,
The sun
Brother
was shining
Young,
brightly.
I trust you.
Yenji woke up
Brother
from
Young
his bed
patted
and
Yenji
found
on
that
the
the room
shoulder.
was empty.
I trust
Little
you
Chi
more
was
than you
nowhere
think.
to be seen.
Go back and rest.
Yenji quickly got up to look for her, but when he opened the door, he saw Ji Chu guarding the
Chapter
door.
11-12.
Brother He,
After
why are you
Yenji
so
sent
anxious?
Brother Young away,
Are you looking for
he got into his
sister-in-law?
car.
Where is
Inside
she?
the car,
Yenji
Ji
asked
Chu was
as he
already
put on
ready
his
to
coat.
go out. I've
Brother
already
He,
sent her to school.
This Brother Long
Ji
isn't
Chu
as scary
replied
as
with
I
a smile.
imagined.
Yenji
Yenji
looked
glanced
up
and
and
realized
from
that
the
it was
rearview
already
mirror
10
and
in the
said,
morning.
Do you
It was
believe
fine
it?
as long as she
Tonight,
didn't
you're
leave
their
his
target.
side.
Yenji
Why?
breathed a sigh
Because
of
I've made it
relief.
clear that your
Brother Young
sister-in-law
has called several
is the
times.
daughter of the Sheng family.
There's something that needs
that
you
long
to deal
guy
with.
won't dare to do
Ji
anything
Chu
to your
handed the phone to
sister-in-law.
Yenji,
And you're the
Brother
only one
Nan
left
left
by
by
my
my
side.
side.
When
How
he
safe
Yenji
do you
heard
think
this
you'll be?
news,
He didn't
Yenji
have much
explained
of an
to Ji Chu
expression.
very seriously.
If it weren't for Brother Nan's
Sleep in my room
subordinates
tonight.
leaking his information,
Is it really necessary?
Auntie Hong and
You
Grandma
can install
wouldn't
a
have
camera
died.
in your room to
Brother
see.
Young wants you to
Yenji
deal with this
answered
matter
him with a
properly,
serious
and
expression.
then take over all of
Yenji
Brother
answered
Nan's
him with a
territories.
serious expression.
I have my own
plans for this matter. Jianchuan has been suppressed by Zhongting and put it in his trouser pocket. All the gangs didn't dare to go overboard. I'm going to see Brother Yang. Over time, go and do something from the banditry that gang should have. Hang up the house in Lushan and deal with it. Even Brother Yang rarely got involved in things also didn't want Yenji to keep reminiscing about the past. This brother Long has killed people before. Will you personally pick up sister-in-law? Hearing the word people, Yenji raised his head was stunned and looked for a moment. Jichu coldly. He obviously understood the seriousness of the matter. He was meddling too much. However, The two of them did not expect that when they rushed back to the hotel, his boss's private affairs would find that their room had been noon at Jianchuan High School. The room was lit and Bian were having lunch in the school canteen, and there were roses everywhere on the table. Xiao Xiao was distracted. There was also an exquisite cake on the coffee table. Brother, have you been with Yenji for the past few days? While the two of them were surprised, yes, I'll stay at his house. Walked out of the bedroom wearing Yenji's shirt. Then you guys, Yenji's face turned green. And his grandmother is gone. Turned his head. Do you think he has the mind to think about anything else? He didn't dare to blaspheme her. Rolled her eyes at Yenjin. He's a gangster. Quickly pushed little Chi back into the bedroom. Yenjin snorted. Why are you here? So, you've completely forgotten him. Just wanted to give you a surprise. It seems like you were frightened, Little Chi didn't say anything. Because she was also asking herself in her heart. Was her anger gone just like that? Little Chi in a moment later, she decided he could have enjoyed the two of them tonight. It's gone. But now he had to ensure world apart from life and death. So everything else was trivial. Took off her shirt. Yenji did not betray her head, nor did he play with her. Since she could not let go of Yenji, I might not be able to have a romantic night tonight. Because I have to bring a third wheel. Yenjin pouted. What's going on? After all, Little Chi took off the shirt and asked for 5 years. Jichu might be in danger. Although she had calmed down in the guest room. It did not mean that she would not punish Yenji. Just chase him back to his room. Little Chi thought so. Little Chi said had plenty of ways to deliberately punish that bastard. You're not in the mood for romance. Little Chi could tell from his eyes that since Jichu was in danger, the business at Water Night was booming by and do nothing. Brother Yang had arranged to meet Yenji at the living room, okay? At this moment, Yenji held two of them were already sitting in the private room. Will you go back to your room? Who dominated both the underworld and the underworld. Naturally had women on his left and right. After Yenji said he had a cigar in his mouth, Little Chi's face like again, a big shot. Turned around. Your grandmother just passed away. I didn't want to disturb your rest. But I saw everything that Little Chi had set up. All these years, I've been protecting him in the underworld, and letting him. Why don't I go back to my room? I didn't expect him to still have a lot of effort to decorate it. Yenji, tell me, it's not good to ruin it. How can a person's heart be so greedy? Yenji took off his coat. What do you want to do, brother on the sand? He only sat down on the sofa. He directly bypassed Brother Yang's words. You have no right to ask about anything else. Brother Yang pointed at him with his cigar and smiled. Jichu felt as if he had destroyed Yenji's wedding night. It's impossible to talk to you. He felt very guilty. Anan had some grudges with you before. He didn't dare to disobey Yenji's orders. I'll give you a chance he could only enter the guest room with a guilty conscience. All his territories will belong to you. He went out alone. My anger and went to the next room to make some arrangements. People in the underworld will say that I can't even teach a subordinate well. He returned to the living room and lay down on the sand. He also wanted to have a woman in his arms. I'll give you news in 3 days. But he also had to protect his own people. Just like that. This was a man's responsibility. Yenji stood up and answered. Brother Yang smiled meaningfully. Chapter 11 subordinates around him. However, some people were the only one with a bright future, especially in the middle of the night. He had the ability. She went straight out of the bedroom and quietly squatted beside Yenji. However, in the darkness, Brother Yang also knew very well that this person was also the most dangerous person. So he got up and pressed the other party stumbling block. Little Chi depended on how the person who had him used it. It's me. At 6 o'clock in the afternoon, he let go of his hand. Was wearing a brown windbreaker pressed down and driving the Sheng family's extended sedan. What are you doing out here in the middle of the night? He was waiting for Little Chi to finish class at the entrance of Jianchuan High School. Little Chi lay on the sand his appearance a few days ago. Yenji pressed down on her back. Today actually made people feel more lonely and distressed. Soon, after all, Little Chi felt his relative had passed away. Temperature behind it was rare for his face to be haggard. Don't plan to let go of me? People kept coming in and out of the school, especially the girls, and placed her on the sand. Their screams were endless. It's dangerous, but you still came out. This did not include the old. Are you referring to yourself by the danger you're talking about? Form teacher. I think you're the one who walked in front of Yenji with a textbook in her hand. Little Chi raised her head. She pushed the glasses on the bridge of her nose. There was only a weak light coming in from the window. Are you still receiving education? Yenji seemed to see Little Chi's proud expression. Yenji replied lightly. Why are you still making a fuss if you know? After saying these 3 words, the opportunity to pinch her walked around the Sheng family's car. If someone wants us to separate with her head held high, attitude is very according to her. What would you do? Was so smart. Little Chi suddenly asked Yenji such a hooligan. No matter what line of work he chose, he could still be at the top. He pinched Little Chi's palm. Didn't care at all. I want to ask you this too. He remembered who he was after all what he was doing. From my point of view, you have many better choices. Soon, Little Chi and Yenjun walked out of the school gate. Little Chi was very persistent. This time, Yenji fell into deep thought again. Little Chi's arm. After pausing for a moment, he replied, "Punish such a devilish appearance? It's too shallow between us to talk about this anymore." And walked to Yenji's side. I can't give you that long. Where are you going today? I feel that only you can understand how strong the feelings in the depths of my heart are. Yenji said as he opened the car door. Do you still need me to answer this question? I won't.
You men are
Chi
not
refused
likable
as
at all.
she got into the car.
No matter how much you do,
I want to continue staying in the hotel with you
and let women
There's no
know.
need for that.
Little Chi slowly
You have the
moved
final
closer
say
to
and I have the
Yenji's
final
arms,
say,
and
Little
wrapped her
Chi
arms
asked,
around his waist.
Yenji,
I'm not
your
afraid
parents
that
will
you
ask
give up
about
on
you.
me.
Moreover,
I just don't like you
it's
to be
against the
wronged,
rules for you to sleep
especially
with
when
me.
those grievances were
Yenji
brought to you
closed
by
the
my
car door,
family.
looking
I'll
very
feel
mature.
even worse. Your
You,
rules are mine.
do you know something?
Little Chi asked again.
Yenji keenly
Yenji,
sensed Little Chi's
don't
emotions,
think that I'll let you off
and
so
the reason
easily.
why she wanted
I
to
haven't
stay the
settled
night.
the score with you yet.
I don't know anything.
Then,
I'll
take
that
you
big
cross
mouth.
country in the mountains
How smart
first.
was Yenji?
Then we'll
How
watch
could he
the
be so
stars on the
easily
mountain.
fooled?
We'll go
You
back
also
to the
know that
hotel in the
Jichu is
middle of the
very
night
loyal to you,
and let you
I
do
just
whatever
casually
you want.
interrogated
Are
him.
you satisfied
And he
with this
confessed
arrangement?
everything.
Don't
Yenji
blame him.
consciously offered the
Besides,
program menu.
Little Chi raised her head and looked at Yenji's chin in the darkness.
Chapter 1100.
How can you have
Thinking
the
of
nerve
the
to talk
motorcycle
about him?
that she had thrown
Why
away.
didn't you tell me about
Little
my
Chi
grandma?
shook her head.
I'm not going. I've already thrown
Because
the
I
car
don't
away.
think it's a grievance.
Yenji was speechless.
Yenji hooked her chin
He
and
started
replied,
the car.
It's
and
normal
took
for
Little
your
Chi
family
to
to
the
worry
place
about
where the
you.
two of them used
But
to
I
date
can't
5
see you
years
being
ago.
bullied.
The narrow
Little
path
Chi
had now
took the
become a wide
opportunity
road.
to hold his hand.
The car is still
After
there.
Yenji
but
heard
the road
this,
is different.
he couldn't help but
Yenji
laugh.
said calmly.
He carried Little
It
Chi
seems
on
that
his
I have
legs
to
and
find
sat
another
down.
way to make
I
my
think
little
you really
wife
don't
happy.
know how
In
dangerous
that
you
case,
are.
do me the
What did
honor
my
of having
grandmother
dinner
say to you?
Aren't you
Of
a big
course I
shot?
should say it.
Why are you asking
Yenji
me?
insisted on
Little
not
Chi
revealing
looked like
anything.
she was waiting to be
Anyway,
dominated.
she didn't object
Yenji
to us
looked at
being
Little
together,
Chi from the rearview
so you have
mirror
to continue
and
to
smiled
respect
silently.
her.
Then
Little Chi
he
opened
brought
her
her back
mouth
to the
and
hotel
was about to answer.
and into the parking
However,
lot.
Yenji
Unexpectedly
suddenly
covered Little
after
Chi's
getting out of
mouth
the
and
car,
shushed her. Little Chi saw the motorcycle that she had thrown at the hotel a few days ago. You saw me? Yenji curled the corners of his lips slightly. Little Chi immediately
leaned
fell
against the front
silent.
of the car.
A moment later,
With a hint of self-deprecation,
he
he
put
said,
her on the sand
"If
and
there's
whispered,
anything else in the
no matter
hotel
what
that
you
attracts
hear,
my
don't come
attention,
out."
it's
Little
you."
Chi reached
It's
out
just that
and
when
wanted
you left,
to grab
the car
Yenji,
wasn't there anymore.
but he was too fast.
My heart tightened.
In the blink of an
Because
eye,
when you came,
he disappeared
riding
from
it
the
made
door
my
of the
heart beat
room
violently.
and went next door.
I searched the parking
Little Chi
lot
suddenly
and
thought
found
that
this
she
little
was not
thing.
weak.
Little
Why
Chi's
did she hide
actions
here
at that
and
time
let him
made him
face the
feel
danger alone?
as if he had been on a
Thinking of
roller
this,
coaster
Little
twice
Chi
that day.
followed him out,
Watching
and saw
her
that the
ride the
door
bike,
next door was
he
open.
knew that she still
and
had him in
Yenji
her
was
heart.
at the door of
Seeing
Jichu's
her
bedroom.
abandon the car.
What's wrong?
He was
Little
terrified
Chi
that she
walked
was
to
about to give up on
Yenji's
him,
and saw that the
Fortunately, it
pillow
was
on
not too
Jichu's
late.
bed had been chopped
Since you
into
care
pieces.
so much,
It was
why
a dummy
can't you
that
hold back
Yenji
from
had
looking for
deliberately
me?
set up.
Little Chi
There was
turned
a
her
pillow
head
in the bedding
and stared at Yenji
This is why
as
you
she
let
asked
Jichu
seriously,
sleep in your room.
"How do you
There
know
are
that
some
I haven't
experts
looked for
around
you?"
that long guy.
Yenji asked
After
naturally.
Yenji said
Little
that,
Chi was
he led
stunned.
Little Chi back to
"Don't
his
say
room.
anything else.
Go in
Let's
and
go
sleep.
up and eat.
What about
The hotel
Jichu?
should be ready."
The other party
Yenji
didn't
was
succeed.
afraid that Little
He
Chi
knows
would
that
feel
I'm on
burdened,
guard,
so he won't make a move
deliberately
so
looked at
soon.
his watch.
Yenji
and then
replied.
stood up to hold
Then
her
there's
hand.
nothing to be afraid
However,
of.
Little
Yenji
Chi's
didn't
attention
say
was still on
anything
because
Yenji's
he didn't know
words.
how to answer.
She really wanted to
Gang
know
members
when
were
he
the
had
most
appeared by her
vengeful.
side.
Some
The
people
two of
could
them
endure
got
for
into the
many
elevator
years
just to
and
pay the
soon
price
arrived
for
at the
finding
top
their
floor of the
enemies.
hotel. Then
Little
why don't
Chi
you go
followed
in?
Yenji
Little
into
Chi
the
looked
hotel
at
restaurant.
Yenji in confusion
At this
and
time,
tugged at him.
Jichu came up to
You
them.
want me to stay in the
Brother,
room alone
his
again?
sister-in-law.
Yenji
Go
was
down and
unmoved.
rest.
He only
Just keep
said
an
with
eye
a
on
hint
what I
of
told
warning.
you.
When
Yenji
you have
said
your 18th
calmly.
birthday,
Understood.
I don't need your invitation
Looking at the
at
entire
all.
restaurant,
After
there
Little
were
Chi
only
heard this,
Yenji and
she
Ming
didn't
Chi.
move.
This
A
should be the
moment
result
later,
of
she
booking
lay
the
down on
entire
the sand.
restaurant.
If
Yenji
Yenji
was
go
the
in,
first to
I won't
pull
go
out a
in
chair
either.
at one end
We'll
of the
sleep
dining
outside
table
and keep
then
watch
he
for
reminded
Jichu.
Little Chi.
Yenji
What
couldn't
happened?
help but tense up.
I don't like these
and his
fancy
head hurt.
things. Did
Little
this
Chi
little
suddenly
woman
know
said
that
very
he was about to
seriously,
reach the limit of his
Yenji,
endurance?
there are too many mysteries
on.
about you that I
Little
can't
Chi
understand.
patted the spot beside
These
her.
things have always been
It's very
intertwined in
spacious.
my heart.
Yenji was helpless.
Do
He
you
put
think
on
I'm in
his
the mood
clothes
to sit
and
down
lay
and
down
eat
beside
slowly
Little
with you?
Chi.
You
He
have
saw
to know
Little
that
Chi
if you
turn
don't
over
plan to be
and lie on
completely
his
honest
chest
with me,
there was a
then
smile
no
in
matter
her
what we
words.
do,
My
I'm just
mind
teasing
will
you
only
like
be filled
this.
with the pain of
It's
your
quite fun.
disappearance.
You used
We'd
to
be
be
so
separated
bad.
by hearts,
But after
5
Other
years
than being
you've
careful
restrained
and
yourself?
sensitive,
This
there is
big
nothing
boss
else.
is really useless.
I'm already past
Only
the
you would
age where
dare
a
to
little
play me
girl
like
needs
this.
to be coaxed,
Yenji
bossy.
was angry and
You
helpless.
should think about it carefully
I haven't
first.
seen you fight so
Yenji
fiercely.
pursed his lips.
What's it like?
His expression was a little
subconsciously touched
complicated,
the hideous
mixed
scar
with
on
a
the
trace
back
of
of his
sadness.
hand.
It was
He
an
didn't know that
unforgettable
little Chi had
experience.
matured to this extent.
I saved Brother Yang's
We have
life.
to eat first.
I pulled
right?
him back from the
If it's
hands of
this,
3 assassins.
I'd rather eat a bowl
Because
of
of
noodles
that,
on
my
the
hand
street.
was almost crippled.
After saying
What
that,
was it like at
little
that
Chi
time?
turned around and
Little
left.
Chi touched
Yenji
the back of his
smiled
hand
helplessly and
because
followed
she couldn't
closely
imagine
behind.
how heavy the cut was to leave such a scar. The hand was
Chapter
attached from the back.
11:01.
At
Little
that
Chi's
time,
footsteps were
only
very
a layer
fast.
of skin was left.
She didn't stop
Do
no
you
matter
regret
how
taking
much
this
she was
path?
shouted at.
Little Chi
Yenji
asked
immediately
gently.
became domineering.
He directly went forward
At that
and hugged
time,
her by the waist.
I had no other choice.
Then,
He used
Brother
his
Nan
fastest
betrayed me,
speed to return to the hotel room.
And my uncle was also involved.
Little Chi
That was
struggled
the
in his
only way I
arms,
could save my
but
life.
He Yinji threw her
Only
on the
then
bed.
could I seek
Don't
justice
move.
for Aunt Hong
Let
and
go of
Grandma.
me. I just
The two
feel
of them
sorry
spoke
for
at
you.
the same time.
Their noses
I've never
touching.
really hated you.
Even when they
I'm
had
very
slept in the same
satisfied that
bed
my
2 nights
beloved
ago.
can return to my
The two
side.
of them had never been
Little
so
Chi
close.
answered warmly.
I'm not telling you not because I don't want to. I just don't know where to start. Also, Chapter 11, I just want to use my actions
just like
to tell
that.
you what I really
The young
think.
couple spent the night
Little
in the
Wan,
living room.
Isn't it more
The next
reliable
morning,
to do it than to say
Ji-Chu
it?
came out of the
in
bedroom
such an ambiguous
and saw
position,
Hyunji and
he
Little
was still
Chi
talking
hugging
about
each other
doing it or
and
not.
sleeping on the sofa.
Little Chi immediately
quickly
let her
left
imagination
room
run
quietly
wild
and returned
Get
next
out of the
door.
way first.
However,
Hyunji
when he saw the
admired
pillow on the
Chi's
bed that
feminine
had been
side
chopped
and
into a
suddenly
mess,
smiled.
he still
Are
had
you
a
shy?
lingering fear.
How can you not
As
blush when you're
expected,
being pressed
Brother
down
He's
like this?
calculations were
I shouldn't
accurate.
be if I'm being
He knew
pressed
that the
down
man
by you.
surnamed Long was
Hyunji
not an
moved his
ordinary
body
person.
away from her.
However,
halfway
Hyunji
through,
did not sleep
he
well
used his hand
because
to
he
hold
soon
Little
received
Chi's
a call from
softness.
Brother Yang.
You're developing
Something
well.
happened in the imperial
Hyunji,
court last night.
Little Chi
Come
instantly
and negotiate
exploded.
with the police.
This time, Hyunji
Got it,
laughed out
Brother
loud.
Yang. Then
Hyunji sat up
on
from
the
the
bed
sofa
and pulled
seeing
Little
that
Chi
Little
into
Chi
his
was
arms.
sleeping soundly.
You'll be
He
mine
did not
sooner or
disturb
later.
her.
He
Why
just
are
looked
you
at
so
the time.
angry?
It was
Little
only
Chi
a little
leaned
past
against that
6,
hard chest,
so he got
and
up
couldn't
and went
break
to the
free
kitchen.
no matter how hard
After
she
making
tried.
breakfast,
She had
he
clearly
Hyunji
trained
turned
in
to
the
combat
combat
skills
bedroom.
over the years.
Now that Ji-Chu
But
had
she didn't
already
have
gone
much
out,
of an advantage
he had
over
probably
Hyunji.
seen the tragic
I'll
situation
slowly
in the
tell
bed
you what
next
happened
door.
after I left
This was
Jianchuan,
also a reminder
because
to
it's
him
too long
that he
and
had
too
to be
torturous.
careful in the future.
However,
For the
the
past 5
this man
years,
surnamed Long
I've thought of a
could
way
not
to
be
visit
allowed
you
to
at the
continue
school gate every
at
3
7
months.
o'clock in the
But
morning.
you've never seen me.
Little Chi woke
Little
up
Chi
from the
immediately
sofa
deflated
and found that
hugged
Hyunji had
Hyunji
already
instead.
washed up.
What
and
if I like
prepared
someone
breakfast.
else? This was the first time Little Chi had seen
Hyunji answered
Hyunji wearing a
directly,
leather coat.
but there was a hint
In
of
addition,
sharpness in his
Hyunji
words.
was wearing black
I
gloves.
mean, I've changed my mind.
The man's handsome
Little
and cold
Chi
aura was
reiterated the main
completely
point of her
revealed on his
question.
body.
Then
Why
I'll
could a
lock you
man
up.
be so handsome
No
in a
matter how
leather
many
coat?
years it takes.
Are you
I
stunned?
want you to fall in love with
pulled
me
out a
again.
chair for her and waved.
After Hyunji
Wash
said
up.
that, he
After
stroked Little
breakfast,
Chi's head a few
Ji-Chu will
times.
send you to school.
All right, aren't you hungry?
I have to go deal with
I ordered
something.
2 bowls of
Deal
noodles.
with what kind of thing?
I'm going to clean up and
Little
change
Chi
my
really
clothes.
wanted to see what
He
Hyunji
said my
looked
parents
like
are back
when he dealt with
Little
things.
Chi suddenly asked
It has
as she
nothing to
watched
do with
Hyunji
you.
get up.
Hurry up.
Yes,
Hyunji
Hyunji took off his windbreaker
It's not like I'll
and
lose a
nodded.
piece of meat
How did
if you
you
let me
convince
go
my
and take a
dad to
look?
be so biased
I'll
towards
just
you?
lose a piece
Could
of
it be
meat
that he favors
after
men
saying
over
that.
women?
Hyunji
Little Chi
quickly
was
walked to
puzzled.
Little Chi
Didn't
and
other
pulled her to the dining
fathers-in-law
table.
make things difficult
Just
for
leave
their
it after
son-in-law?
you're done eating.
Don't doubt your
I'm going
father's
out
concern
first.
for you.
Okay.
That's because
Little
he knows
Chi
very
agreed
well
verbally
that I'm
and
the
did not
only one
struggle
you really
anymore.
want.
Hyunji was
Hyunji
afraid that
smiled
Little Chi would
confidently
follow
at
him.
Little Chi, so he went
Then
out
when will
early.
you officially visit
However,
my family?
he had no idea that not long after
Little
he
Chi
went
got
out
out
of bed
Little
and
Chi
followed
quickly
behind
called
Hyunji.
Ji-Chu.
I
and
want to
followed
ask you
behind
first.
Hyunji.
Does your family
However,
mind being a
Hyunji
gangster?
was very vigilant.
Little Chi.
So Ji-Chu didn't
if your
dare
family
to get too
mind,
close.
what do you plan to
In
do?
the end, he even lost
Hyunji
him.
looked at Little Chi
Chi
with
was a little
interest and
distressed.
asked, whether they
According
agree
to
or
this
not,
path,
I'll
guess where
definitely
your brother
follow a
he went.
fierce big boss like
Ji-Chu
you.
thought about it,
My
and his
family
eyes
has
lit
all
up.
kinds of jobs,
Imperial
but there's no
Dynasty.
gangster gang.
Hearing these 2 words,
Hyunji, Little Chi
Little
knew
Chi
that it
knew
was
that
the
she had
biggest
won the
nightclub
round
in
and smiled
Jianchuan.
sweetly.
Previously,
However,
Brother
it was
Nan
her
was in
smile
charge
that
of it,
Hyunji suddenly
but this
held her
place had
cheek
been
and
taken
kissed her
back by
fiercely.
Hyunji.
I'll
He
let
had
you be
already
proud.
returned it to Brother Yang. Chapter 1102. Little
Nothing
Chi's
good can
face
come to
and
this
ears
place
were
so
flushed
early
from
in
the
the
kiss.
morning.
She
Sure
finally
enough,
pushed the
when the
culprit
two
a few
of them
steps
arrived
away.
near the Imperial
Don't kiss
Court,
me after smoking.
they saw Hyunji standing
grabbed
at
her
the
arm
entrance of
and
the
pulled her
Imperial
closer
Court.
to him.
At his
He
feet
looked at
was a
her
corpse
intently.
covered with a white
Do you know
cloth.
how dangerous
There
you
were
are now?
police officers all
Hyunji,
around.
Without
When
my
the current
parents'
person in
consent,
charge of the
don't
Imperial
even think
Court
about
saw
having
Hyunji
any
appear.
physical relationship
It was
with
as if
you.
he had seen
After
his savior.
Hyunji heard this,
Brother, you're
he
finally
turned his
here.
head and shook his shoulders.
What's going on?
He laughed in a
Hyunji
low
asked
voice
solemnly.
I don't know
Shawan.
how,
So I
but he
didn't
died
know
in
that
our
you had
Imperial
already thought
Court.
so far ahead.
The police are
Little Chi was
investigating the
speechless.
cause.
How are we
Hyunji
going to
saw
do
that she was
business like
speechless.
jealous. So he sat on the sofa and pulled little lifted the white legs. Took a look. But you owe me a lot of kisses. You, according to what you said, the real person in charge of the Imperial Court from the age of 16. The police officer at the side sized Yinji up. How many times do you owe me? Comrade police, little Chi leaned against Yinji's chest asked, and smelled the smell of the cigar on his body. Wait for our forensic doctor's autopsy report. That's what you missed. The police were unwilling to say more. It has nothing to do with me. They only asked the people of the Imperial Court to cooperate with the investigation. In the afternoon. Moreover, he stuffed a cigar into my mouth, for them to open for business in the near future. I didn't expect you to be so sensitive to the smell. Yinji explained calmly as he hugged her. Little Chi's heart was pounding. This was because their posture was too ambiguous. I know.
However,
Yenji replied
even though she
calmly
knew
to
that
the
this
manager
couldn't
of
go
the
on,
Imperial Court,
she still couldn't
go down and
gather
gather the information
arms.
first.
She didn't know
Prepare
if
a
it was
copy
because
of
of their
this
tacit
person's information for
understanding.
me.
But
Since
since
the atmosphere
party
between
has
the two
already
of
made
them
became
move,
more
we
and
can't
more
be too
ambiguous.
passive.
Especially
Also,
when their
gather
gazes
all the
met.
employees
Their
of the
lips
Imperial
unknowingly
Court.
pressed
I
together
have
again.
questions to ask.
This time it was gentle
I'll
and
do it right
lingering.
away.
It was
But
long
brother,
and soft.
There's something
allowing
that I'm
little
very
Chi to
worried
experience
about.
what a real kiss
the
was.
Imperial Court
The
used
two of
to
them
be
sucked
brother
up
man's
all the
territory.
oxygen in each other's
There have been
chests.
many dirty tricks
When
done
little
here
Chi
in the
couldn't
past.
breathe.
If
The
the police
police
reluctantly
reluctantly
let her go,
it might not be easy
I
to
can't
explain.
continue, huh?
In the
I'm
end,
afraid I
the
can't help
manager
it.
was just a
Little
manager.
Chi placed her
He was
head
afraid
on
of
Yenji's
taking
shoulder,
responsibility,
and the two of them
even though
hugged
he had
each other
just taken
calmly
office
and warmly.
He had heard
How many
enough
years
about the
had it been?
Imperial Court.
Today, I'm
The
afraid
scene
that
that
she
she
had
had
dreamed
dreamed
of
of
court
might
might
not
not
be
be
able to
realized
hold
in
on.
reality.
This isn't
Little
something
Chi
you
couldn't
should
wait
wait
to
about.
walk into Yenji's
Yenji
life and
patted him
soul.
on the shoulder.
This time,
Just
she
do
wouldn't
what I
allow
tell
him
you
to
to do.
escape again.
Okay.
And the best
With
way to tie
Yenji's words,
Yenji up
the
was
manager felt
responsibility.
much more at ease.
The two of them
He
cuddled
turned
in
around
the room for a long
and went
time.
back to the Imperial
But this
Court to
beautiful
get busy.
scene was quickly
Yenji
broken
took
by
out his
Chi
phone
Chu's knocking on
and
the
called
door.
Brother Young first.
Brother He, something
Then
happened.
he waited for the forensic
Yenji
team
and
of the
Midnight
police.
looked at the door at the
However,
same time.
Yenji
Then
never
little Chi got
expected
up from
that the
Yenji's
person who
lap.
came to do the autopsy would be his
Yenji
mother-in-law.
got up from the sofa
When
and caressed
Chi
little
appeared in
Chi's
front
head.
of the Imperial
Wash
Court,
up and sleep
even
first.
little Chi, I'll be back
who was
later.
hiding at the side
Will he
was
come
shocked.
back? Little
was a
Chi
little
asked
awkward
carefully.
to meet under such
Of course.
circumstances.
Yenji's expression
Chi
was not
firm.
as relaxed
This
as she was
time,
at home.
I won't leave
When
your
she
side
arrived
even
at the
if I
scene,
die.
She only
Little Chi
glanced
nodded
at
and
Yenji
pointed at the door
before
with her
squatting
chin.
in front of the corpse. She put on
Go.
rubber gloves and
Yenji
carefully
picked up
examined
his coat
it.
again and
The
quickly
preliminary
walked out the door.
conclusion is
Little
that the
Chi
victim
watched the
died
two
of
of them
asphyxiation
disappear
and
The
could
time
only
of death
adapt
was
to
between
between
2
2
and
and
4
4
in the morning,
as
there
soon
were
as
no
possible.
obvious injuries
How
on
could
the body.
she miss a certain
We still
someone
need to
after
collect
being a
samples
part
for only
a
a
poison
second.
test?
Little
I
Chi
want to see
sat
the
down on
crime
the
scene.
sofa.
Manager,
However,
bring the
before she
forensic
could think
doctor
about
in.
anything else,
Yenji
Master
pretended
Xiao
that he had
called.
never seen
Little
Mu
Chi
Chi
suddenly
before
felt embarrassed
and spoke
as if
in a
she had been
businesslike
caught in the
tone.
act.
Are
She
you
had
in charge
clearly
of this
agreed
place?
to go home at night.
Mu Chi asked
However,
meaningfully
she
when
still
she
picked
entered
up
the
the phone
Imperial
and
Court.
said in a coquettish
I'm the
tone,
current person
Dad.
in charge. Yenji answered in a neither servile
Chapter
nor overbearing
1103.
manner.
Why?
You don't feel guilty
Do you still
at all.
see me as your father?
Because I know that forensic
Master
Dr.
Zhao's
Mu
tone was
will
unclear.
definitely give
It was
the most
obvious
impartial
that he was
judgment.
quite
But
dissatisfied
can your
with
place
Yenji
withstand
not
an
sending little
inspection?
Chi home.
How insightful was Mu
I'll be
Chi.
back later.
How could he
I'll be
not
back
know about the
tonight.
impact this
Little
matter
Chi
had on
scratched
the
her
Imperial
head,
dynasty?
and her rationality
Whether I
began
can
to
take it or
return.
not, I will
What time?
cooperate. 10 o'clock?
Yenji answered
12
Mu
o'clock.
Chi seriously.
Or 5 o'clock
If you
in the
offend
morning.
someone,
You should deal with it
Master
immediately.
Zhao's tone rose
I
slightly.
trust my daughter's
It's
judgment.
not like that, Dad.
Don't let me down.
Yenji went out to
With
do
that,
something.
Mu Chi
I'm
led the
staying
forensic
in the hotel
team into
alone.
the crime scene.
I just want him to
After
see me when
Yenji
he
comes
heard
back.
this.
He
Now
followed
that
her
he's
into the
alone,
Imperial
I
Court's
don't want him
private
to
room.
lose his sense of security.
Little Chi answered
Outside the
sincerely.
door, Little
If
Chi
you don't
was lying
believe me,
under a big
you
tree
can
not
send
far
Uncle
away.
Sue over to
She
watch
was
me.
anxious.
Your
What
Uncle
did the
Sue
two of
also
them
has
say?
his own things to
Her
do.
mother did not bully
Master Zhao's
or
tone
make things
softened.
difficult for
In
Yenji.
terms of feelings,
Did she?
Half
Little
an hour
Chi had
later,
combined his
Mu
and
Chi
Mu
left the
Chi's
private
temperament.
room with her team.
Master Xiao
When
could
she left the
understand this.
Imperial Court,
Dad,
she said to Yenji,
before 2 o'clock,
I still need to
I'll leave the
examine
lights
the
on
corpse
for you.
further. This
Yenji
was already
cooperated
Master Zhao's
anytime.
biggest concession.
I won't let you down.
After all,
Thank
he
you,
knew
Auntie.
that Yenji had
Tis,
lost his
he's
grandmother.
handsome no matter how
Got
I
it,
look
Dad.
at him.
You're
no
the
wonder
best.
my daughter is so
After
distracted.
obtaining Master
Don't
Zhao's
bully her.
understanding,
When
Little
everyone
Chi was
heard about
relieved.
the relationship
She did not
between
know
Mu
what
Chi
Yenji was doing
and
at the
Yenji.
moment. They were
Was he really
surprised.
fighting on the streets
After
like
all,
in the
Yenji
movies?
was a gangster.
At that
Everyone
moment,
in the forensic
Yenji
team was
knew
rushing
that.
to the dock of
But how could Mu
Jinchuan.
Chi dare
We
to hand her
captured Brother
daughter
Nan's
over to such
right-hand
an
man
outlaw
and forced
Don't
him
worry,
to the
Auntie.
dock?
I cherish
However,
her very
Brother
much.
Nan asked to see
That's
you.
enough.
Otherwise,
See you
he
later.
would detonate the
With
homemade
that,
bomb
Mu
on his
Chi
body
left with
to
her
lure the
team.
police out.
At this time,
he came
someone
prepared.
in the team asked
So
Mu
as long as
Chi,
he sees me,
forensic
he'll
Dr.
be willing
Mu,
to surrender.
This young man can't be your
Yenji's
son-in-law. gaze was cold, and even a trace of impatience. Where is he now? On the broken boat. Chapter 11. Yenji got out of the car.
Why?
And straightened his windbreaker.
Wuxia narrowed her eyes.
His expression was dignified and sharp. He seems to be the boss here. Big shot. He seems to be from the underworld.
A young male forensic doctor
bowed and made way for this ruthless
trembling
with fear.
Unlike
After
in front of
little
heard
Chi,
this,
she smiled and
Yenji
answered,
had quite a bit of
I
prestige
understand.
in the underworld.
At your age,
He never
the
took
world
people's
is either
lives,
black or white,
but he would definitely
good and
make
bad
them
are
suffer
clearly
a fate
distinguished
worse than death.
After all,
Everyone
I
knew
was
that
also
the
young
person who
once.
had offended him
I can
had been
understand
chased
your
by him
hatred
for
of
a
evil.
year or two.
But this world
In
is
the end,
often not as
because
simple
he
as
couldn't
you see
stand
it.
Yenji's
Whether
revenge,
he can be my son-in-law
he went to
or
the
not,
police station
I have
and
my own
surrendered
judgment.
himself.
I believe in
Admitting
my
that he had
daughter's
killed
choice.
someone back then.
The few forensic
Brother,
doctors
he's
behind
on the
her
boat,
opened their
but it's
mouths
very
at the same
dangerous.
time. But they couldn't say anything
and motioned
because
for
they
everyone
really
to
didn't
leave.
expect the
We've
Sheng
known each
family's
other for a
upbringing
while.
to be so valiant.
Since he wants to see me,
Muchichi
I'll
actually
let him
allowed
see
her
me.
daughter to find
But
an outlaw.
his subordinates
Muchichi
were worried
knew
about
that
his
others
safety.
couldn't accept it.
Ji-Chu hurriedly
But she didn't
stopped
care
his
about
little
other
brother.
people's opinions.
This kind of matter,
It would be a
brother
pity if
he
a
naturally
handsome
knew
guy
what
like
to do.
Yenji didn't become her
Yenji was
son-in-law,
wearing
okay?
shiny brown leather
Not far
shoes.
away.
Unlike
Yenji
the
watched his
slovenly image of
mother-in-law
the other
leave,
big shots
just
who were
as he was
nouveau
frowning,
riche.
and
He would
guessing
clean
what she was
himself up
thinking.
every day. Little Chi ran over from under the tree.
What
He
did
was
my mom say
meticulous.
to you?
And his
When
taste in
Yenji saw
clothes
little
was
Chi
completely
appear,
like an
he
English
immediately
gentleman.
raised his hand
Yenji
and looked at
walked
his
onto
watch.
the broken ship.
Why are you
and
here?
saw Brother Nan
It's already
sitting in
time
the
for
cabin.
class.
His eyes
If I
were
didn't
filled
come
with
to
fear.
see you,
How
don't
would
come
I know
over,
that you were
or I'll
involved
light
in
it
a
up.
murder case?
Brother Nan held a
After
lighter
Yenji
and
heard
revealed
this,
the
he
explosives
pulled little
tied
Chi
to
to
his
the
waist
side,
to threaten
and
Yenji.
carefully reminded her.
Yenji did not go
This
any
matter has
further.
nothing to do
He
with
just
you.
squatted on the
I
deck
can handle
and
it.
looked at Brother
Go
Nan.
back to class
Do
immediately.
you know what
okay?
happened to the people who
Yenji,
asked to see me
I
in the
can
past
ignore
few
it
years?
and go to class
Brother
immediately.
Nan's throat rolled,
But you
and
can't
he was
hide
sweating
everything from
profusely
me.
because I don't
Yenji,
want to hear
back
the
then,
news that
I was
you've been
kind to you.
arrested.
Why
and
did you
brought to the
repay my
police
kindness
station
with
in just
enmity?
one day when
A
I'm done
favor?
with class?
Yenji
Little Chi
snorted.
grabbed Yenji's arm and didn't let go.
Are you going
Chapter
to leave without
1104.
saying goodbye a second
What a huge
time?
favor.
Yenji
You
was
killed
stunned
two of
for
my
a
family
moment
members
and
in a
softened his
row.
attitude. You can't
He
blame
reached
this
out
on
and
me.
rubbed little Chi's
I didn't
head.
know that I would be
I'm
betrayed.
just here on Brother
Yan's
Yang's
orders
quickly
to
explained.
cooperate with the
I
police
didn't know anything
investigation.
about what happened back
I'm also
then.
confused
I
about
didn't
the
know
death,
that the other
but I
party
can
would
promise
take
you
such
that I
extreme
won't be
revenge on you
implicated in this matter.
Your subordinates have already
Really?
told me
You won't?
everything.
I was with you
smiled
last
coldly.
night.
The
This
other
can't be
party
blamed
asked
on
for
me,
peace
right?
and gave you 10
chuckled.
territories. But you
So
sold
my
me
little
out.
girlfriend,
Isn't that the
can
case?
you let me rest assured
Brother
first?
Nan's face turned
Why
pale,
don't you feel at ease?
and his hands began
You're
to
always
tremble.
afraid that I'll leave.
You've,
Can't
do
you
I
let
really
me
go?
make you feel so
Let you go.
insecure?
Yenji
seemed
hugged
to have
little
lost
Chi
his
helplessly
patience
and
and stood
asked,
up.
What do
You
you
really
think?
disappoint me.
Forget it.
I
I'll
thought
send
that
you
since
to
you
school.
betrayed Brother Yang
Yenji knew
and
that
wanted
little
to set
Chi's
up your own
after-effects
business
were very serious.
You wouldn't be so
he
weak.
felt extremely
I didn't
guilty.
expect you to be so easily
you
frightened.
don't care about this place
All right,
anymore.
I've seen your ugly
the
face.
people below know
If
how
you
to
want
deal
to light
with
a
them
fire,
first.
then light it.
Yenji
Or should I
pulled
ask
little
my
Chi into the
subordinates
car
to help you?
and personally
Anyway,
sent
this
her
is
to
the
the
dock,
entrance
and
of
it's a broken
Jinchuan
boat.
Middle School.
Even if it catches fire, no one will think that there
However,
are people
after
on it.
arriving,
After
little
saying
Chi
that,
did not get out of the
Yenji
car
turned
immediately.
around and jumped onto the
Instead,
shore. She tilted her
Yenji,
head and looked at
what I am
Yenji.
today will be your
You won't
tomorrow
tell me
in
what
the future.
Grandma said to you.
This was Brother
What
Nan's
about my
last
mother?
advice to Yenji.
What did my mom say to you? I'll never be able to be
Yenji
like
held
you.
the steering wheel
After saying
and couldn't
that,
help but laugh.
Yenji walked up
If
to
they
his
don't like me,
subordinates and instructed,
are you going to oppose the
old
whole
rules.
world?
Don't kill
Of course.
anyone.
Little
Punish them
Chi
as you
answered
should.
matter-of-factly.
From then on,
My grandmother
Auntie
has
Hong
my
and the
grandfather.
old lady's
My
grudge
mother
could be
has my
considered
father.
to have been avenged.
But you only have me.
As for his future path,
After hearing this,
he knew what
Yenji
kind of
was
choice
very
he was
touched.
making. He
He
couldn't
would
help
not
but
go
hold
wrong,
little Chi's
nor
chin.
would he go astray.
Bring her closer to him
Brother
and kiss
He,
her.
you've worked hard.
Go back and rest. Count the number of territories in this bastard's hands and show them to
Chapter
Brother
11:18.
Before
How can I
Yenji
bear
got
to
into
let
the
you
car,
and your family
he
go
instructed
against each
Ji-Chu.
other?
Your
I don't like
grandmother
these
and mother
things.
don't hate me.
It's useless
I'm
to keep them.
serious.
Got
After
it.
the kiss,
Ji-Chu
Yenji
nodded.
answered little
Soon,
Chi very
the originally
seriously.
calm sea erupted
So,
into flames.
can you please stop letting
Yenji
your
glanced at it
imagination run
indifferently.
wild?
He
There are
had
no
absolute
despicable
trust in his
mothers-in-law in
subordinates.
this world. When he
And there are
returned
no
to the
parents
hotel,
who would break
it
up
was
a couple.
almost 10 o'clock
Don't
at
look
night.
at these things all day
Yenji
long.
looked at his wristwatch
Besides,
and frowned
this matter
slightly.
will be over soon.
He didn't know if the
Little
little
Chi
girl
didn't
was
know how
asleep.
Yenji was
Thinking
going to
of
deal
this,
with it.
Yenji was
She could
eager
only
to
try her
return.
best to trust
The moment
him.
he opened the door,
I can trust you.
he was even a
but
little
don't always
surprised
treat me
because
like
the
a
lights
child.
in the room were
I'm
still
about to
on.
become an adult.
She was waiting for
There's
him.
still more than half
back?
a year.
Little Chi
Yenji
got up from
replied
the
casually.
sofa. Yeah,
Do you
why
think I
aren't you
haven't
sleeping
endured
yet?
it hard?
Yenji took
Little
off his
Chi's
coat
face suddenly
and hung
heated
it at
up,
the side,
and she quickly
Moreover,
got out of the car.
looking at little
Take
Chi's
me up
appearance,
tonight.
she hadn't
Aren't
washed
you going
up yet.
home tonight?
My dad
I want to
called and
accompany
asked me
you.
to go home.
Little Chi's
Since
answer
you're
was
back
natural
safely now, send
and
me
carried
home.
a hint of
Little Chi
coquettishness.
raised the phone
This
in her hand
immediately
and
made
said,
Yenji have an
Yenji
urge,
was stunned
extreme urge. He wanted nothing more than to pull her back immediately, intention. Press her into the front passenger seat. She always waited for him to come back before leaving, and kiss her until the end of time. Because she didn't want him to feel lonely in the room. This little troublemaker was not mature enough for him to take whatever he wanted. As a result, Yinji could only resist the urge in his heart and drive away after Little Chi hugged him back and thought for a few seconds. Yinji returned to the Imperial Court. Why don't we say that you're injured and I want to take care of you? All the employees of the Imperial Court, then do I have to hang my arm up tomorrow? At the luxurious entrance was finally Imperial Court and let go of waiting for orders. Now is not the time. Over. Wait and for saw me the manager immediately come up and let you stay by my side for the night. I've cleared out the people who were still working between 2 and 4 o'clock last night. Chapter 11:05. I've also taken out the surveillance footage.
What
Little
else do you
Chi
need?
stepped into the house.
I don't need anything.
However,
She
shook
closed
his
the
head.
door carefully.
Then
looking a little
I'll go
guilty.
deal with other things
Sheng
first.
Xiao was serving
Wait a
Mu
minute.
Chi-Chi,
What
who
were
had
you
gone
doing
to the
at that
police
time
station
last night?
after returning to
He
China.
suddenly grabbed
the couple
the manager
sat at the
and
dining
asked,
table.
Also, don't
and turned
leave
to
yet.
look at their daughter.
You'll take over
with
the
a meaningful
questioning.
look in their eyes.
Finally,
you
add
still
your own
know to come
statement.
back. I'm going to
Sheng
meet
Xiao
a
snorted
very important
faintly.
person at
Then,
noon. He looked at his
Yes,
pocket
I'm going
watch
to meet
and
him.
realized that it was
Okay.
still early.
Give them whatever
So he
the
didn't
police
say
want.
anything else.
He
Mu
instructed.
Chi-Chi didn't
Okay, I'll
reprimand
cooperate
Little Chi.
fully.
She just
He
smiled
curled
as she
his
ate.
lips into a
You're
faint
like me
smile.
back then. He held
If
his
you
phone
weren't like you back
and
then,
entered the scene of
I
the
would have thrown
Imperial
you out
Courts
long
case
ago.
with Ji Chu.
Little Chi was
Brother
speechless.
He,
Why
are you
don't you
suspecting
try?
the manager?
Mu Chi-Chi frowned
After
and
all,
contradicted Sheng
Chi Chu had
Xiao.
followed
Do you
He
think
for a
it's
long
easy
time,
for you to get a daughter
so he
when
could
you're
tell
old?
what He was
Little Chi
thinking.
secretly
If
laughed,
no one helped,
and then quietly
who do you
went
think
back
would
to
be
her
able to
room.
kill someone
It was
in
useless
such a
to be
secretive
envious,
manner?
because it was
So
her
I believe
parents'
that they are
love,
working together.
and her bond was
the
in the
Imperial
hotel at the
Dynasty
moment.
isn't like a hotel.
She didn't know when
It's
she would
always
be able
full.
to stay by
To kill
He
someone
side.
silently under
The
such
next day, Little Chi
circumstances,
woke up to go
and
to
be
school.
discovered in the morning.
Unexpectedly,
Do you think it's
Tang
an
Xiaobao
accident?
came to the Banyan
Hearing
courtyard
this,
to see
Chi
her.
Chu nodded his head.
You have to go to
That's
school
impossible.
too, right?
Why are you at my house so early in the morning? Little Chi couldn't
If you
help
treat
but
the
ask
manager
when
like
she saw
this,
his serious
will he notice
expression.
something?
Let's
Although
talk on
he
the
has
way.
always listened to
Tang
my
Xiaobao
orders,
stuffed the
he
milk
has
into
always
Little
been
Chi's
unconvinced
arms
in
and
his
directly
heart.
dragged her
He
out.
thinks that I don't have
Tang
the right to
Xiaobao.
ride on his head.
I know He
so
is
he
back.
definitely won't
Tang
believe that a
Xiaobao paused
brat like
and suddenly
me will see
said,
through the tricks inside.
I also know that he's in the
He
underworld
squatted
now.
on the ground,
Girl,
and
you know
carefully
that I
observed
hate
the
criminals
scene.
the most in my life.
Then you said you were going to meet someone
Do you
at
still
noon.
want to be involved
Who
with
is it?
him?
Witness.
Little Chi stopped in her
answered
tracks
simply with
and
2
suddenly
words.
couldn't say anything.
The person surnamed
5
Long
years
knew
ago,
the person who
this
bribed Brother
bastard hurt you
Yang.
once.
So of
Do you
course
still
he
want to
could
do
bump
the
into him
same?
now.
After a
Tang
few
Xiaobao
dealings,
looked Little Chi
He
in the
knew
eyes and
very
asked,
well that the people
he had
around
also
the person
become handsome.
surnamed Long
He had inherited
were
his
definitely
father's
not loyal
style.
servants.
He was tough,
They could
sunny,
be
and
bribed.
full of righteousness.
He was really popular with girls. Xiaobao, although I don't know what to say, Chapter 11 and I are different from what
At
you
the
think.
same time,
He's not
the
the kind
news
of
of the
person
death
you
in
think
the
he is.
Imperial Court
Little
had
Chi
spread to the
explained
surroundings.
calmly. Little
Other
Chi
than the
explained
fact that
calmly.
the Imperial Court
I
was
know
the
that
largest
Uncle Tang
nightclub
is the
in
chief of the
Jianchuan.
police station.
It was also
You've
because
been
there was a
influenced by
person
him
who was
since you were
deeply
young.
gossiped about.
So it's impossible
was
for you to
He
take him seriously.
He had always been brave
However,
and good
he's
at
the
fighting.
person I like.
As if it was
As
only
long
a
as I
matter of
believe
time
that he
before
didn't do
he involved
anything
human
wrong.
lives.
I don't care
This
who
made
he
the
is.
people in the school
After
look at
hearing
Little
Little
Chi's
Chi's
words.
words.
In
Tang
the past,
Xiaobao let
they
go of
didn't
her
dare
right
to get
hand
close to her,
because he suddenly
now,
felt that the
they
little
couldn't
girl
wait
in
to
front of
avoid
him
her.
was so
Only
unfamiliar.
Yan Jin dared
He
to
didn't know when
continue
it
being
started,
Little Chi's best
but
friend.
the two of them had
Seeing
a
that
conflict in their
Yanjin's friends were
worldview.
getting fewer
Tang
and fewer,
Xiaobao would never be
Little
with a
Chi
gang
couldn't
member.
bear it.
But Little
She
Chi
took
told him
advantage of
that
the
she
lunch
didn't
break
care
and
at
said
all.
to her,
"Where is Uncle
"You'd better
Xiao?
stay away
Doesn't
from
he
me.
care?
Otherwise,
My father
you won't have
naturally
any
wants me
friends
to be
other
happy.
than me in the future."
Crazy? Are you all
Yan
crazy?
Jin
lay on Little Chi's body.
Tang
Because
Xiaobao
her good
suddenly
friend
became
was here.
agitated.
She felt a
What
little
are you all
helpless.
thinking?
What was Uncle
talking
Xiao
about?
thinking? Am I such
he
a
trying
shallow
to push
person?
you into the fire pit?
You are. When
You have
Little
no
Chi saw
conscience.
Tang Xiaobao's
But then
expression,
again,
did he
she
Yanji
wanted
really
to
try
kill
to make
someone?
him understand?
Yan Jin asked
However,
nosily.
when
Little
the words
Chi
were on
rolled
the
her
tip
eyes
of her
and
tongue,
explained unhappily.
she felt that it
Of
was
course not.
unnecessary.
He's just
because
dealing
everyone
with the
had
murder
their own
case in the
position.
Imperial Court.
Tang Xiaobao's
How did
heart
these
was
people
very
make him a
conflicted and
murderer?
uncomfortable.
It's not
because
like
he
you
didn't
don't
know
know
that
how
your
to
guy
face
is
his
handsome,
sister walking
cool,
on the
dangerous,
crooked
and
path.
difficult to conquer.
Therefore,
he's
he
always
held
in the
Little
middle
Chi's
of the
shoulder
vortex
and
of
persuaded
gossip.
her earnestly.
Even if those little girls
Chi,
can't get him,
I really don't
they
want
can't
to
help
see you
but
jump
pay
into the
attention
fire
to his
pit.
heart.
Don't fall
Yan
for it
Jin
anymore,
replied with
okay?
a smile.
We can still
By the
find
way,
a better one.
doesn't your family have any objections at all? Little Chi shook her head.
Chapter 11.
She didn't know about this
It
because
seems
both
that you
her
haven't had
grandmother
enough
and
of
mother
that fight back
had
then.
already had a
A
serious
male voice suddenly
conversation
came
with
from
He
behind
Yanji.
the two of them.
However,
Little Chi
He
turned
Yanji
around
had never let her
and
know
saw
what
He
the
Yanji
content
pulling
was.
her to his side.
When others fall
His
in love,
entire
it's
body
sweet.
full of
When you fall in
possessiveness.
love,
Didn't
it's
you disappear
earth-shattering.
5 years ago?
After Little Chi
Why are you
heard
still
this,
pestering
she
my my sister.
He snorted loudly.
When
Do you
Tang
think I
Xiaobao
want to?
saw He
But why did the matter
his eyes
between
were
her
spitting fire,
and he
was
have to be
furious.
magnified?
Don't you
Why?
know that you're a
When
hooligan?
school ended,
Do you
little
still
Chi
want to
found
jump
the
over the
answer.
dragon gate?
At the school gate,
Get in the car
He
first.
was wearing a leather coat
didn't want to make
and
things
leaning
difficult
against the
for
car
little
door
Chi.
in a cool manner.
So he pushed little
His
Chi
noble
to
aura
Ji
was
Chu.
natural.
Although little
With
Chi
just
was
a glance,
worried,
people would
it was
fall
indeed
into
not
it.
appropriate
It
for
was
her
no
to
wonder
stay
that
for
his
long,
matter would
because
cause a
it would
huge
only
uproar.
add fuel to the
What's
fire.
wrong?
Therefore,
Yenji
she
saw that
followed
little
Ji
Chi's
Chu into the
expression
car.
was strange.
Outside the car,
He took her school bag and
atmosphere
asked
between
gently,
the two men
"What do you
seemed to
think?
be at loggerheads.
Comrade murderer, let's find
Little
another
Chi
time
replied
to fight."
angrily,
You like it anyway. Frowned slightly.
Yinji handed the
contact information to
around
Tang
Xiaobao.
He discovered that regardless of whether it was a man or a woman,
accepted
their eyes were filled with avoidance and fear,
and turned to look at little Qi before turning to leave.
I didn't know it would have such a big impact.
Yinji smiled faintly.
Boss, he apologized to his concubine
anger to heart.
Do you think I care?
Because he knew very well that this
man
in the front passenger seat
only wanted
and
to
asked him
protect
back.
Lil Wan.
She was a little emotional.
Yinji returned to the car and handed another breakfast to little Qi.
Then I'll send you to school.
These people have to
Don't
say
tell
that
me the
about
two of you are going to fight again.
Explained to
Little
Yinji
Qi reached
angrily.
out to take the breakfast.
No one pays
and felt
attention
a
to the truth behind it.
Women shouldn't
as
ask
long
about
as
the
it's
private
matters
matters
between
They
men.
treat it as gossip
Yinji didn't
and
exaggerate
intend
it
to
wantonly.
answer this question.
I can't
and
take
let
it
Qi
anymore.
choose set off.
After
Because
hearing
he still
little
had a
Qi's
few important
explanation,
matters to deal with.
Yinji couldn't help
Little
but
Qi
laugh.
looked at the two
He reached
breakfasts
out and
in her
pinched her
arms
face
and shook her head.
I got it. Forget it.
Know what?
Anyway,
I'm very
this
happy
person
that
knew
you're
his
so
limits,
protective of me.
so she didn't need
Yinji
to worry
laughed
about
from
it.
the bottom of
However,
his heart.
There were
This
some
matter
things
will
that
be
she
resolved
still needed
soon.
to express.
You don't have to take it to
You
heart.
also know that the
Go
Tang
home
family
and
has
do your
been
homework.
police officers for
Do you need
generations.
tutoring?
The most
As long as you
difficult thing
want.
to hide is their
Yinji
righteousness.
agreed readily.
Tang
The
Xiaobao
kind
is
where you
also
can
worried
kiss me
about
if you do your homework,
If you
right?
really have any
Little
conflict,
Qi
don't go
asked.
too far, okay? Aren't you worried that the one being beaten up will be me? Yinji opened the milk for little Qi and inserted the straw.
Chapter 11:20.
I'm not worried.
It's fine
In
if
my
it's
heart,
a little
you're
bigger.
the winner.
Little
Yinji
Qi answered
matter-of-factly.
Little Qi was
Yinji
satisfied
felt
when
very
she heard
comfortable.
that.
She
So he
finally
put his
stopped
arm around
whining
her
about
shoulder
school matters
and pulled her into
But
his
how's
arms.
the investigation
By
of the
the
murder
way,
case going?
other than your parents,
You really want
who
to
else
hear
do you
about
want
it?
to get approval
Yinji
from?
asked little
Little
Qi
Qi
as he
squinted
drove.
slightly and asked
Don't think it's
Yinji,
complicated.
Anyone?
I want to hear about
I will
it.
try my best to
Yinji
satisfy
pursed
you.
his lips with
You're
a
just a
faint
gangster.
smile.
Then,
What are you talking
he told
about?
the little girl
It's
the
not
current
that important.
situation.
It's fine as long
deceased
as
was
I
a
like
single
you.
man who lived
Little
alone.
Qi answered.
He was a
Yinji
frequent visitor to the imperial court.
domineeringly.
When
Yinji
died,
chuckled and
he was in
stroked
room
little Qi's
V310
hair.
in the
This little
imperial
girl's
court.
boyfriend was
It was
too
between
easy to
2
be.
and 4 in the morning.
Soon the two of them
However,
arrived at the
the
school
strange
gate.
thing was that at that time,
There was
however,
no private
before
room at
little
all
Qi
and
could
V
get out of the
310,
car,
and there was no
Yinji
service.
reached out and grabbed her.
The surveillance
After
cameras
school
didn't
in the
capture
afternoon,
any
don't run
suspicious
around.
people.
I'll pick
Even
you
the
up.
cleaners didn't go
Where
in.
to?
How
Go
did
back
that
to the
person die
hotel
and do
inside.
your homework?
Little Qi
Yinji
listened
said
very
with a hidden
seriously.
meaning.
As
Little
Muchi's
Qi glanced at him
daughter,
and snorted.
she had her own
But for some
sensitivity
reason,
to this aspect.
She actually looked
The
forward
police
to that
are still
moment
investigating
because she wanted to
What
kiss
about
you.
Yinji?
That's all
In
you
all
know.
kinds of positions.
Little Qi didn't believe
in all
it.
kinds of places.
Yinji's brain was
Just
too
thinking
smart.
about that scene would make
Sometimes
one blush.
She even
Don't go
suspected that
astray.
Yinji was
It's
her
just
father's
limited to
child with
kissing.
someone else.
She was an obedient,
At that
decent
time.
girl.
The manager was serving a regular customer in V210.
Chapter
He has an
11:07.
alibi. On the
You
other
suspect
side,
this manager.
after Tang Xiaobao
Little Qi
returned to
immediately
school,
grasped
he
the
couldn't
main
really
point
trust
of little
Yinji's
Qi.
words,
Especially
Why
when
do
he
you think
looked at
so?
Yinji's
He
business
didn't
card.
say anything to
What
anyone,
kind of future
and
could
just
he have
directly
with such a
mentioned
gang
this
manager?
manager.
Therefore,
Aren't you
after
suspecting
class,
him? Tang
Moreover,
Xiaobao called his father.
according to the layout
Dad,
of
there's something I
V210
want to ask
and
of you.
V310.
Tang Yin was
Other
now
than
the
the
chief of the
different
bureau,
floors,
so
the
he was
locations of
naturally
the rooms
strict with
should
his
be
son.
exactly the
In
same.
his impression,
Is there something
Tang
mysterious
Xiaobao
about
had never
this?
asked for his father's
After
help.
Yinji heard this,
So he couldn't find a
looked at little
reason
Qi
to refuse.
approvingly.
Go
This
ahead.
girl was really
Can you
smart.
do a good
She
investigation
understood
on
everything.
Yinji?
He's
I
a
have a
gangster.
guess.
But
So
he
I'll
has a
go to
close
the forensics
relationship with
laboratory
little
of the
Qi.
Jinchuan
I don't
branch
want little
tomorrow
Qi
morning
to regret it
You're
after
going to
being
see my
hurt.
mom again,
If
right?
this person has
Yinji
committed a
knew
crime,
what she was worried
you
about.
must tell me
So he
immediately.
asked.
Tomorrow
Yinji?
is Saturday.
Hearing these three
Do you
words,
want to go with
Tang
me?
Yin was interested.
Yes, in case my
He
mom
doesn't have a
bullies
criminal
you.
record.
Little Qi nodded
but he
heavily.
has performed meritorious
Then after we go
deeds.
back to the hotel,
How is that possible?
you can't mention the
Tang
murder case
Xiaobao
anymore.
scoffed on the other
Just
side of the
focus on your
phone.
homework, okay?
It's nothing.
Yinji
I'll
made
keep
his
an eye
request.
out. Tang
Got
Yin
it,
stopped
teacher.
the
He,
topic and
after
comforted her
returning
son.
to the hotel,
Tang Xiaobao didn't
Yinji
notice
led little
anything
Qi
else,
into the room,
so he simply
and
hung
signaled
up.
her with his eyes
However,
to take
on
out
the
her
other
homework.
end of the phone,
He went to the
Tang
bedroom
Yan's
to make
eyes
a
were
call.
deep and hidden.
Although the Sheng
Yinji
family
was an
indulged
interesting
little
person.
Qi,
He
the
had to
younger
follow the
generation
rules.
would surpass
He
the
had
older.
to report to Sheng Xiao in
Speaking of little
advance
Qi,
that little Qi
it was
was
a
not
critical
going
moment
home.
for the college
Then he
entrance
returned to the living
examination.
room. However,
At this time,
as the daughter of
Jichu
the
also
richest
took
man
out
in
something
Jinchuan
and looked at
it
Yinji
seemed that
with some
little Qi
difficulty.
didn't need to worry about
Brother
the
He,
future.
I've already
When
gotten
Yinji
what you wanted. She was very envious. Send it to the place I told you. How good would it be if I were
really
you?
Okay?
No matter how many
was
points
a little
you score in the exam,
Yenji wanted
your family
the
has a
Imperial
gold
Courts
mine.
account book.
Speaking of which, do you really not have any job in particular that you want to do?
It was divided into
I want
two
to be
parts.
a big shots woman.
One was when Brother
Nan was
answered
with a book in her hand,
and the other was after
Screw
he
you.
took back the
You're
Imperial
already
Court.
one now.
In
I'm
addition,
asking
there
a
was a
serious
list of
question.
names.
Yen
believed
didn't
that
know
the
whether
police
to
would
laugh
like
or
this
cry.
list.
She
If you
leaned
don't
on
want to
little
be
cheese
stabbed
arm
by the traitor,
Think about
then
it
do as
carefully.
I say.
Otherwise,
All right, I'll
what's
go
the
right
point
away.
of living? Ji Chu
After
could not
hearing
think of
Yenji's
Yenji's
words,
methods,
Little Chi
and he
thought
was not
about
as
it thoughtful
seriously
as
for a
Yenji.
moment. He
and
was
then
simply
fell into
afraid
deep
that
thought.
things would get out of hand.
There are only 2
and
months
Brother
left
Yang
before
would
the
use
college
him as a
entrance
shield in the
examination.
future.
It
He
seems that
Yenji
it's
nodded
too late.
and took off his leather
Little
coat.
Chi thought about it
Then,
carefully.
he sat
Ever
down
since she
behind
was
little
born,
Chi.
she
and
had
held
never
her
had
with
any
both
ambitions.
hands.
She didn't have her
the
mother's
lesson has
dedication,
begun.
nor
Little
did she
Chi
have
turned
her
her
father's
head
extreme
and tried her
intelligence.
best to kiss him.
What was she living
Teach
for?
me this first.
Little Chi thought about it
lowered
all
his head
afternoon,
and kissed Little
but
Chi's
there was
red
no
lips.
answer until she
I'll
saw
give you a
Yenji
question.
at the school gate.
If you do 80%
Yenji
right,
opened the car
I'll agree
door
to your
and
kiss.
saw that she was
If you do
absent-minded.
100%
So
right,
he waited until
I'll
she
let
got
you
in
do
the car
whatever you
before
want.
asking,
Really?
"What are you
Little
thinking
Chi's
about?"
eyes lit up.
"You're so engrossed."
Really?
Little
Hi.
Chi
I'm
immediately
going to take
became
the college
excited and
entrance
told
examination
Yenji,
soon.
"It can't be
But
too
I don't know what
difficult
to do in the future.
Little Chi replied in distress. "I seem to be very ordinary and can't do anything big." Chapter 11:21. After
It's good
Yenji
that you
heard
know.
this, he understood.
I'm hanging up.
It turned out that
Mom,
his little girl was
Yenji and I are
distressed
going to the
because of
forensics
this.
laboratory tomorrow.
Lil Wan,
Don't make
actually,
things difficult
you are the
for him,
cleverest
okay?
and smartest
Little
girl I've
Chi
ever
did
met.
not forget this
Since
matter.
you don't know what you
After
like,
all, then,
Yenji
let
was
me
now
set a
the
goal
target
for you.
of the investigation.
How about that?
Little Chi
You
was
didn't you
afraid
regret
that her
leaving
mother
school?
would be very strict.
Little Chi was afraid that
Muchichi
Yenji
was
would
shocked
be
when she heard
sensitive
this.
when she mentioned this
In
question.
terms of feelings,
Regret
Little
is
Chi
the
was
most
exactly
useless
the
thing.
same as her.
Why do you regret
No
it?
one could bully the
Yenji
person in their
answered
heart
without thinking.
Therefore,
The smile
other
on
than
his
feeling
lips was
helpless,
endless.
Muchichi
Go to
could not do
Shantung.
anything to Little
Didn't
Chi.
your parents come from
I won't
there?
make things difficult
You really
for him,
think
okay?
highly of me.
That's more
Little
like
Chi
it.
couldn't help but
Yenji
laugh.
was outside the door
I'll
because
teach you.
Little Chi did
Don't
not
forget,
close the door tightly.
I once tutored you
He
in
did
your
not
homework.
deliberately eavesdrop.
Yenji said solemnly.
However, hearing Little Chi protect him like this, Yenji's heart
Chapter
was extremely
11:08.
touched. Because other than
It wasn't
repaying
that
his
Little Chi
sincerity,
didn't believe him.
he did not know
But he
how to
hadn't
treat
been to
Little
school
Chi
for
well.
5 years.
Sometimes
He was afraid
that
that
he
he
had
had
forgotten the
At
contents
8
of the
o'clock in the
textbook.
evening,
Yenji
smiled
brought
mysteriously
Chi to the hall
and
of the
didn't
Imperial
explain.
Court. He brought
At this
Little Chi
time,
back to the
the
hotel.
manager was reprimanding
Chi,
the service
knock
staff.
on the door again
At
at
this
dinner
moment,
time. Yenji had the
instructed
statements of all the employees
when he led
of
Little
the
Chi
Imperial
into the
Court
room.
in his hands.
Jichu nodded,
Of course,
and
the
winked at
manager's was
Yenji.
also mixed
Brother
in.
he, don't worry.
Brother he,
Just enjoy the
why
two
are you
of
here
you.
at this time?
Not only
The
that,
manager turned
but
around and
Jichu
saw
also
Yenji.
consciously closed
He quickly
the door
came
for
up
the
to
two
him.
of them.
There
After
are some
entering
things
the
I can't
room,
figure out.
Yenji directly
So I have a few
placed
questions
Little
to
Chi's
ask
school
you.
bag on the sofa.
Yenji held
Then
the
he pulled her to
statements
sit
and
on his
pretended
lap
to be confused
and put her arms around
People
his neck.
died in room 31.
Did you miss me?
But no
Little
one
Chi's
went to
heart
room
immediately
31.
raced.
According
and her
to your
face
thoughts,
immediately flushed
how do you
red.
think the murderer
However,
did it? She didn't hide her
the
feelings
manager
and replied,
scratched his head,
yes,
and looked very
Yenji
troubled.
was very satisfied
Brother
with
he,
her answer.
you're overestimating
He directly
me.
pinched her
I only
chin
know how to
and
manage
kissed her
the
gently.
accounts.
I
It
don't
was
know
this
how to
kind of
reason.
feeling,
This
You
kind
were
of
in room
soft
21,
feeling
that
and
made
made
Little
Little
Chi
Chi
worry
worry
about
about
it
you
for the whole day.
Didn't you hear anything
Unknowingly,
at all?
the
He
two of them
Yenji
had fallen
deliberately
in love,
emphasized the
and the kiss
geographical
became more and
location
more
of the two
intense.
rooms.
At this
There were
moment
guests in
in
the
room at
huge
that
room.
time,
There was
it was
only
too
the sound
noisy.
of the two of
The
them
manager
sucking each
answered
other.
matter-of-factly.
After a long while,
I think so too.
Yenji finally
However,
let
there's
go
new
of Little
progress
Chi.
in the forensics
I really
department.
want to eat you now.
I believe
Little
that
Chi
this
hugged
matter will come
Yenji
to light
tightly
soon,
and was trying
After
her best
saying
to
that,
calm down her
Yenji
distracting
instructed
thoughts.
the manager.
However,
I've
after
picked
a
out
while,
a few
she
people.
felt that she had
Find them in
failed.
order.
So she
I want to
whispered
talk
in
to them.
Yenji's ear.
Okay,
I want to
the
eat
manager
you too.
nodded and carefully
Yenji was
sized
stunned.
Yenji up.
He coughed
This was
lightly
because
and quickly
Yenji
said to
had
Little
secretly
Chi,
revealed a
"Do your
lot of
homework.
important things
You
to
have the
arouse
heart,
the manager's
but you
vigilance.
don't have the guts."
Soon,
Little
the
Chi
manager
got up
found
from
him
his
and
body
pretended
and
to
couldn't
ask
help
Yenji
but mutter.
casually.
Yenji was
Brother
a little
he,
helpless.
what's the progress?
It's precisely
31.
because it's you that I
It's
don't
not
want
the
to be
first
casual
scene at all.
Little
After
Chi knew
saying
that
this,
he was doing this for
Yenji
the
turned
future.
around with a smile.
So she picked up her
However,
school bag.
the manager
and
was
sat down
stunned
on
on
the
the
coffee
spot,
table,
and cold sweat
"Come here.
quickly seeped from
Aren't
his
you going
palms.
to teach?"
Then,
Yenji stood up and
asked
sat
the
down
waiter
behind
some
Little
irrelevant
Chi.
questions.
He wrapped his
About
arms
half
around
an
her.
hour later,
"Are you
he
let
still
the
partial
last
to
waiter
subjects
go?
now.
I'll go
I'm
to
not
the
partial
forensics
anymore.
laboratory
In
tomorrow.
the few
years that you were gone, I wrote love letters to many boys.
If the police
so
come
I
to
practiced
investigate,
just
Little Chi
cooperate."
snorted.
Yenji
That's
deliberately
really a good
revealed
idea.
this news to
Are
the
you sure
manager
it's a few
before he
boys?
left. "Why didn't you
Okay,
write
brother
it in your
he,
diary?"
I know what to do.
Yenji saw
saw through
the
her
manager
at a glance.
answered cautiously.
Little Chi turned her
Yenji
head
left with
and
Ji
looked
Chu,
at the man behind her.
and then he heard Ji
She
Chu's
was
question.
a little awkward. Brother He,
Why did you have
why
to
did you let
expose
this
me?
manager know so
Yenji
much?
laughed silently.
If I didn't
and
do
kissed
this,
the back of Little
how could I
Chi's head.
force him to reveal
It
himself?
seems like we've returned to
Yenji
that time.
asked Ji Chu meaningfully.
Little Chi thought he
Don't
was
worry
joking.
about it.
So
This
she
case
really
will be
handed the
solved
math
tomorrow.
problem that
Really?
she didn't understand
Ji Chu
to
was
Yenji.
confused.
Can you
This
solve
case
it?
was still a mess.
Yenji took the
It would be
textbook
solved
and glanced
tomorrow?
at it.
Go
Then,
back to sleep.
He picked up the pen
Tomorrow, and
it'll be
pressed it
someone
against
else's
Little
headache
Chi's
face.
Yenji's
Watch
face
carefully.
was relaxed.
I'll only
because
solve
as
it
long as he
once.
thought about hugging his little wife to sleep
Little
later,
Chi saw him take
his
out
heart
the
would be
draft
filled
paper
with
to
excitement
calculate
and was shocked.
Could it be that this person was really a genius? A moment later, the solution appeared
Chapter
on the draft paper.
1122.
And
the
the
next
answer was
morning,
on the verge of
Yenji
appearing.
bought 3 breakfasts,
You're a gangster.
brought his wife.
How do you know how
and
to
went
do
straight
mathematics?
to the Jianchuan branch's
What?
forensics
Can a
laboratory.
hooligan not be
The
cultured?
police officers from the
Yenji
branch
smiled as he
also
held her
knew
hand
this new big
and
shot.
returned the pen to
They
her.
brought the Sheng family's
Even if
daughter
it's for you,
and rushed
I will
to the
never let
forensics
myself
laboratory.
fall.
They
Little
didn't
Chi's
know what
heart
forensic
trembled.
Mu was
I
thinking.
can't let the gap
Was he
between
going to
me
push
and
his
you be
daughter
too
into
big?
the fire pit
He
just like
Yenji's
that?
words
Sounded
However,
casual.
this
But
was
no
the
one
Sheng
knew what
family's
kind of
matter
hard
after
work he
all.
had put in behind
It
the
didn't
scenes.
seem like others could
Little
interfere.
Chi couldn't help but
Just
lean
by
into
looking at
Yenji's
looks,
arms.
Yenji
She was
indeed
full
a
of
rare
skills when it
handsome
came
man.
to romantic
Some
words.
people would even believe
okay,
it
I
if
don't
they said
mind.
he was a celebrity.
Anyway, in the future,
when they arrived
I'll
at the
follow
forensics
laboratory, Mu Chi had just started work. Little Chi
Chapter
was very good
1109.
at pleasing her
Big
mother.
boss, he rubbed Little
She handed
Chi's
the
head,
breakfast
his
he
eyes full
Yenji
of
had bought to her
smiles.
mother. Don't worry,
Although you might
I
have
won't let you
eaten at
lose
home,
the bet.
Yenji still
Next,
bought
it was really homework
Put it
tutoring.
there. I'll
Little
destroy
Chi
it
looked
when
at
I'm hungry
Yenji
later.
with a hint of admiration
Mu
in
Chi
her
put on her
eyes.
white coat and
What you
gloves
say
and
is
looked
easier
at
to
Yenji.
understand than what the
Tell me
teacher
what you're
says.
thinking.
You're
I found
comparing
some
me to the old
suspicious
traces in room
Yenji
21,
pinched Little Chi's
especially
face.
on the windowsill.
What she says is
So,
aimed at the whole
I
class.
suspect that the
What I
victim
say
was
is
killed
only
in room
aimed at you.
21.
Of course,
and
it's
was thrown
different.
into room
In the
31 by the
past,
murderer
she
through
had
the
never
windowsill.
thought that
Is
studying
there
was
such a
such an
possibility?
interesting thing.
After
However,
Mu heard
in the few
Yenji's
years
guess that Yenji
she
was
handed
not
him the
around,
autopsy
her
report.
exam results
There are
depended on
indeed
her
two
mood.
kinds of marks
But most
on the
of the
victim's
time,
neck.
she stayed in the top
One is the
3.
strangulation
Now that
mark
she
of
had
an
Mr.
adult
He by
man's
her
right
side
hand.
to tutor her.
In addition,
Not
we
only
found
was it
fibers on his
exclusive,
neck,
but she
it
could
should be
also
a kind
kiss,
of rope,
hug,
so your
and take
guess is not
advantage of him.
unreasonable.
For the past
Everyone
2 months,
focused on room
she had
31,
to have Yenji tutor
but they
her every
relaxed the
day.
examination
However,
of room 21.
good times always passed
This also
quickly
gave the murderer
because
time
it was
to
time
destroy
for
the
dinner.
evidence.
Little Chi
I
stayed at the
secretly
hotel.
left the surveillance
After
footage of room
accompanying
21
Yenji
that
for
night,
dinner,
as
he
well
sent
as
her
the
back to the
traces left on the
courtyard.
windowsill.
However,
Yenji
this
answered
time, there was something special.
Mu looked
This
at
was because
Yenji
after Little
approvingly and
Chi got
nodded.
out of the car,
Then this case
she
will
took
be
the
easy
initiative
to
to hug Boss He,
Yenji thought
and
so
tiptoed
too.
to kiss him
He
on the
handed
cheek.
over all the
This
evidence
should have
to
been
the
a very
police.
ordinary scene.
However,
But
just
it was
as
seen by
Yenji was
Mama
about to
Sheng,
leave the branch
who had
with
just
Little
returned
Chi.
home. The police
Wan
and the
Wan.
team stopped him.
Mama Sheng got
Your
out of the
people from
black
the
car
Imperial Court
and called
have
out
sent
to
a
Little
document.
Chi uncertainly.
I need you to
Little Chi
cooperate with
turned
an
around and saw
investigation.
her grandmother.
As expected,
She
they're
immediately
taking
stiffened
action, and could
Yenji
not help but
sneered.
feel a little
Yenji.
guilty.
Little
Grandma
Chi was a little nervous.
Mama Sheng walked up
Didn't
to the two
death
of them
have nothing
and
to
looked
do
at
with
Yenji, who was
It's
behind
okay.
Little Chi.
Wait for me for 10 minutes.
Hello,
I
Grandma.
promise I'll come out.
I'm Xiaowan's boyfriend. He patted the back of Little Chi's
Yenji
hand to
politely
comfort
reached
her.
out his hand,
Although Little
and bowed
Chi was
slightly
worried
to show his
she still
respect.
chose to believe
Just like
him.
when he was bumped
After
into
that,
by Master Xiao.
Yenji followed the
Yenji
criminal
was calm
police
and
into
did not
the
hide.
interrogation room.
Boyfriend,
While Little
Mama
Chi
Sheng's
went to the
expression was a
forensics
little
laboratory
unclear because
Why
she had
aren't you
never
leaving?
thought that Little Chi,
Mom, this has
who was
nothing
only
to do with
17
Yenji,
years
right?
old,
Mu
would be
Chi
like her
crossed
mother
her
back
arms
then.
and snorted.
Since we've
It's
met
good enough that he
let's
doesn't
go home
scheme
and have
against
a seat.
others.
Mama
That
Sheng
brain of
directly
his
invited
is not
Yenji
something that can
because
be
she
compared
also
to.
wanted to know
Don't
if her
worry.
son and
So
daughter-in-law
are you
knew
praising
about
him?
this. After Little Chi heard this, her heart pounded. Little
She
Chi
turned to look
immediately
at
became
Yenji,
excited,
but he looked calm.
Who is it that called me
Then
last
I'll have
night
to trouble you,
and asked me to
Hearing
let that
these
kid
words,
go?
Mu
Mama
Chi
Sheng's
pinched her
expression
daughter's
softened
face.
a little because
You
she
really
knew
like
that this
me.
boy was at
You know
least
that
not
he
a
doesn't
coward.
need your protection.
Grandma,
But you're
Little
still
Chi
worried.
panicked and said to
Little
Mama
Chi
Sheng,
leaned on her mother's
"It's too late
shoulder
today.
and rubbed hard.
Can't we do it
You're the
another
one
day?
who taught me to love
She
people.
didn't object, and
Mu
you're
Chi
already
protecting
protecting her
her?
daughter.
Mama
She
Sheng
was a little
snorted softly.
disgusted.
Then
But there
she
was
beckoned
nothing
the
she
two
could
of them.
do. With
Get
her
in my
genes,
car.
she could not be
Little
reserved.
Chi was helpless.
In the
She
interrogation
turned to look
room,
at Yenji.
the police opened the
Yenji
document
of
and
Little
asked
Chi.
Yenji. He smiled
This is a
lovingly.
report.
Do you know about it?
I think.
I know, Yenji answered calmly. Chapter 1123. Then how can you be so calm? The interrogator looked at Yenji in disbelief. He was so young, but he was a big shot. Who knew how many dirty things he had done behind the scenes, and how many lives he had taken? Yenji didn't say anything. He just took out his phone, found a phone number, and dialed it in front of the police. Be serious. You can't make a phone call now. The police officer immediately scolded. Yenji was unmoved. He threw the phone to the interrogator. Listen to what your boss has to say. The other party took the
phone and put it to his ear in confusion. At first, his expression was cold, but a minute later, he began to nod and bow respectfully. Sure enough, in less than 10 minutes, Yenji walked out of the interrogation room unscathed. Little Chi immediately went up to him, grabbed his arm, and asked, "How was it?" "I'm fine." Yenji comforted Little Chi. "That's good. I'll take you to watch a good show." After saying that, Yenji held Little Chi's hand and got out of the car. leaving behind the police officer, who was interrogating He Yinji with a face full of confusion. What was this kid's identity? On the way back, little Chi couldn't hold back her curiosity and asked He Yinji, "What did they say to you?" The manager of the imperial court handed the account book to the police, and also reported that the imperial court was engaged in illegal business. He Yinji explained calmly. According to him, the police can use these things to find out Brother Yang's background. After all, Brother Nan was also Brother Yang's underling. Are you sure it's the manager? Other than him, no one else has access to such a detailed account book. Little Chi nodded. That's true. Things won't get more and more complicated, right? Is it complicated? He Yinji didn't think much of it. The case has already been solved. In a while, we'll know all the answers. After saying that, He Yinji sped up the car and returned to the imperial court as fast as he could. Because of the murder case, the imperial court was closed for investigation. It was no longer as lively and prosperous as before. He Yinji pushed open the door of the imperial court and saw Ji Chu coming up to him. He secretly said to He Yinji, "Brother He, the manager didn't escape. Did you misunderstand him? Invite the manager to the office," He Yinji instructed Ji Chu. "Then, send your sister-in-law back to the hotel." "I'm not going back." Little Chi looked around the hall of the imperial court. This was the first time she had come to such a place for fun. Of course, she had to have fun. He Yinji reached out and pulled Little Chi in front of him. He told her seriously, "Didn't you ask me what your grandmother said to me before? Not letting you appear in this kind of place is one of the conditions I promised her. Do you want to make things difficult for me?" Little Chi pouted unhappily. "Will you listen to me?" Little Chi took a deep breath and finally nodded in compromise. "All right then. I'll listen to you for now. When he became an adult, he would have to think about it carefully. Jichu, take good care of sister-in-law." He Yinji pushed Little Chi to Jichu. "Don't worry, brother He." Jichu stood at the side and replied solemnly. Little Chi walked out of the imperial court with some disappointment. She got into He Yinji's car and waited for Ji Chu to send her back to the hotel. It turned out that He Yinji had promised her grandmother such a thing. Since they were talking about conditions, then her grandmother should have made it difficult for that fool. "Sister-in-law, just listen to brother He. No matter what, he won't hurt you. It's always for your own good." On the way back, Ji Chu helped He Yinji put in a good word for him in front of Little Chi. Chapter 1124. I know he's doing this for my own good. However, Little Chi was worried that He Yinji would mistreat himself for her own good. In the manager's office in the imperial court, He Yinji sat on the office chair with two subordinates standing behind him. He was waiting for the manager's arrival. The account book had already been handed over. Logically speaking, the manager's goal should have been achieved, but he didn't take the opportunity to escape. Could it be that there was something he wanted here? "Brother He, you're looking for me?" The manager pushed the door open and entered. His tone was no different from usual. "It's not a big deal. It's just that I went to the Jianchuan branch office in the morning and was detained. I was interrogated for 10 minutes. He Yinji answered slowly as he adjusted his gloves. "Is it because of the murder case?" "Manager, where is the account book of the imperial court?" He Yinji saw that the manager was still trying to escape, so he went straight to the point. "This." The manager was stunned for a moment, then said cunningly, "You asked me to cooperate with the police investigation, so I handed it over to the police. The police didn't want to investigate the business of the imperial court. I already asked before I left." He Yinji mercilessly exposed him. After saying that, He Yinji placed the account book he had taken from the police on the desk. "Aren't you being too careless?" Seeing this, the manager's expression changed. He knew that he couldn't hide it anymore. So he said, "I didn't expect you to collude with the police." "You're wrong." He Yinji sneered and got up from the chair. "I've already divided your so-called account book into 2 parts and handed it over to the police in advance. As for your report on the criminal transactions of the imperial court, I've already handed it over to the police. You schemed against me." The manager immediately understood that he had fallen into He Yinji's trap. No one killed people in 301 because you killed people there, and then dumped the bodies there. You wanted to ruin the reputation of the imperial court, and take the opportunity to suppress Brother Yang. Am I right? Seeing that his plan had been exposed, the manager no longer hid it. I underestimated you. You call me Brother He on the surface, but you've always been unconvinced, right? What kind of conditions did that long guy give you to make you betray Brother Yang? That's none of your business. The manager tilted his head, unwilling to reveal more. Of course it's none of my business, but don't forget, what happened in the 21st century will be found out sooner or later. At that time, you won't be facing me, but the police, He Yinji said coldly as he leaned against the edge of the office chair. You won't be able to find any evidence. I've already destroyed it. Are you talking about surveillance or something else? He Yinji raised the manager. The few people who entered 21 are all suspects. Looking at the time, the police have already taken action. Do you think they will confess to you? The manager was stunned again. Don't blame me for not giving you a chance. What else does Long want from me? The manager's psychological defense was broken bit by bit, but he still hoped to get lucky. It's fine if you don't want to tell me. He Yinji clenched his fists and grabbed the manager's lapel. Do you think you still have a choice? You've probably heard how I got to where I am today. Do you want to have a taste of my fist? Brother He, let us handle this kind of thing. The two henchmen behind He Yinji immediately stepped forward and said, No need. He Yinji directly threw the man out. I don't like it when people are backstabbed. Either tell me or die. Chapter 1125. In the eyes of others, He Yinji was rarely ruthless. However, some of Brother Yang's subordinates had seen He Yinji get angry. When the manager saw that He Yinji was really angry, he immediately got up from the ground. I was just greedy for money. I was bribed by Brother Long. He didn't order me to do anything else. I just took a fancy to a woman from Imperial Court and wanted to take her away with me. Do you think I believe that? He Yinji asked. It doesn't matter if you say it or not. Anyway, when we get to the police station, you'll spit it all out. When the manager heard the words police station, he immediately waved his hand. I didn't kill her. It was Brother Long's men. Then do you know why your Brother Long needed you to be there at that time? Because if someone dies, none of you can escape responsibility. Do you think you just took the money to help frame Imperial Court? No, you sacrificed yourself. Because once this matter is found out by the police, you and the murderers won't be able to escape. As for him, he only needs to spend some money and use his connections. Who can prove that he hired someone to kill someone? After hearing He Yinji's analysis, the manager became even more terrified. Brother He, I don't want to go to jail. Tell the police everything that needs to be said. Try to get your sentence reduced. After saying that, He Yinji gestured for the two subordinates behind him to send the manager directly to the police station. After that, He Yinji called Brother Yang and briefly explained what had happened, as well as the investigation that Imperial Court might face in the future. After Brother Yang heard this, he was very pleased. You're the most reliable of the few people under you. It doesn't matter if Imperial Court is gone. We still have other shops to support. Most importantly, we can't let the police continue to investigate. Don't worry, the police won't be able to find any more. This was the prerequisite for He Yinji to hand in the list and clues. However, he also added a few new things to the list. Now the one to suffer will be that Long fellow, right? Brother Yang, please wait and watch the show. Yinji, I only trust you now. Do well. Sooner or later, this chair of mine will be yours. After saying that, Brother Yang hung up the phone. However, this made He Yinji frown. It was impossible for him to say that he didn't want to be the boss. After all, he had embarked on this path. However, he believed that Brother Yang was also a good boss. He had never mistreated him. Therefore, he couldn't bring himself to pull Brother Yang down. After handing him over, He Yinji left the Imperial Court. As for the rest, the police would give the Imperial Dynasty an answer. But since they handed over the books, it meant that the Imperial Dynasty was going to seal them up. However, losing an imperial dynasty to take down that surnamed Long was worth it. Soon the police arrested and interrogated the people involved. Because there were 5 or 6 people, they set up traps for each other, and quickly found out the cause and effect of the murder. Among them, the murderer was Brother Long's underling. Therefore, this fire quickly burned onto Brother Long. That was because the clues that Yenji gave included a few illegal businesses that Brother Long had been involved in after coming from the north. The police quickly summoned Brother Long. Of course, it wasn't a big deal to just summon him. The key was how to take the last few steps. However, just hearing the news that Brother Long had been summoned made Brother Yang feel good. In the hotel, Little Chi waited for Yenji for the entire afternoon. Because she had promised her mother that she would go home today. If Yenji didn't go home, there would be no need for a date on Saturday. However, since he had something to do, she would spare him. Little Chi picked up her school bag and was about to go home when Yenji suddenly pushed the door open and came in. "You're leaving?" "I'm going home today." Yenji grabbed Little Chi and pressed her against the wall. He lifted her chin and kissed her. "Don't even think about going anywhere." Chapter 11:26. After the kiss, Little Chi's face was bright red. She leaned against the wall with an unnatural expression. "But I promised my mother that I would go home today. Have dinner with me before you leave." Yenji held her hand and said, "2 days ago, you spent so much effort to decorate the room. I haven't enjoyed it yet. I have to make up for it today." Little Chi followed Yenji back to the living room and was pressed down on the sofa by him. "Sit down. Let me do it today. Is everything settled?" Little Chi couldn't help but ask when she saw him roll up his sleeves. "Don't you trust your husband that much?" Yenji lowered his head and tidied up the coffee table. Then, he pulled Little Chi up and pushed her into the bedroom. "Come out when I tell you to." So mysterious. The couple was about to have a sweet dinner when Little Chi received a call from Mama Sheng. "You heartless little girl. It's your grandfather's birthday today. Why aren't you home yet?" Little Chi was stunned for a moment before she reacted. No wonder her mother wanted her to go home last night. "I'm sorry, Grandma. I'll be right back. At least you have a conscience." Mama Sheng wasn't really angry. She just turned her head and thought about Little Chi and Yenji's matter. She became a little serious. "If you want to bring someone home, that's fine. But if your grandfather sees through it, I won't help you." Little Chi glanced at Yenji and had no intention of avoiding him. She covered Yenji's hand. "It's my grandfather's birthday. Do you want to go?" Yenji knew that he wouldn't be able to have the candlelight dinner, but he didn't answer Little Chi. He just put on his coat while Little Chi was talking to her grandmother. When Little Chi hung up, he held Little Chi's hand and said, "I'll take you home." "Yenji, I'm not afraid of your family. I just don't want to embarrass you." Yenji rubbed Little Chi's head and smiled warmly. "I can wait. When the time is right, when you're an adult, I'll get your family to hand you over to me." After hearing this, Little Chi tiptoed and hugged Yenji's neck. "I'll wait for that day." Yenji picked her up and brought her down the hotel parking lot. Soon, he sent Little Chi back to the Banyan courtyard. Outside the iron gate, Little Chi waved at Yenji. "See you tomorrow." Yenji leaned against the car door and nodded. "See you tomorrow." It was not that he did not want to appear in front of the Sheng family as a boyfriend and tell them the story between him and Xiao Wan openly. It was just that his current identity and what he was doing made him lack the confidence to do so. Although he did not think that he had done anything wrong, he did not have enough confidence in front of the Sheng family. Lil Wan would be scolded by her family. Lil Wan would be caught in a dilemma between him and her family. This was something he didn't want to see. Therefore, he could temporarily endure not being able to join Lil Wan's life. One day he would do it openly. Yenji prepared himself mentally. Then, he turned around and prepared to drive away. However, when he turned around he saw Tang Xiaobao, who was riding a bicycle to the Sheng family's house. The two of them already had a grudge against each other. Now that they met on a narrow road,
Tang Xiaobao was naturally not going to be polite. You can't get in, right? I can't get in. He Yinji nodded and admitted. You'd better not let me catch you. With that, Tang Xiaobao pushed the bicycle through the iron gate. He only left a view of his back for He Yinji. Chapter 1127. It had to be said that this was the first time He Yinji was envious of someone else's background. This was because the Tang family could enter this iron door at any time and easily gain the favor and recognition of the Sheng family. There was even the possibility of the elders wanting to matchmake the younger generation. He Yinji was so envious that his heart ached. The banyan courtyard was bustling with noise and excitement. Although Papa Sheng had already said that he did not want to make a big fuss about his birthday, he was still very happy to see a room full of people coming to celebrate his birthday. The small kitchen in the banyan courtyard had also specially prepared a special birthday banquet for Papa Sheng. In fact, Mama Sheng and Papa Sheng had long moved back to the Sheng family. However, Mama Sheng still suggested that they celebrate her husband's birthday in the banyan courtyard because she was thinking about little Qi. If she was willing to bring He Yinji, then perhaps she would not be so nervous in the banyan courtyard. However, when she saw little Qi go home alone, she could not tell if she was relieved or a little disappointed. He Yinji, that child, should have both bearing and cultivation. She had thought. Sai Xiaoqin, look at that child from the Tang family. He's so good. He's so compatible with Wan Wan. While Papa Sheng was drinking tea, he sized up the Tang family's Xiaobao. This child was becoming more and more masculine. He was about to become an adult. If he really had feelings for his granddaughter, it would indeed be a good idea to matchmake them. After all, they knew the Tang family very well. Mama Sheng frowned and looked at Tang Xiaobao. A moment later, she answered her husband. That child from the Tang family is a rare talent, but your granddaughter doesn't like him. You should give up. Papa Sheng was a little puzzled. Why would such a talented boy? You'll know in the future. Mama Sheng could not expose him. But even without He Yinji's matter, Mama Sheng would not have agreed to let Papa Sheng matchmake them. If a woman did not marry the man she liked, wouldn't she have lived her life in vain? Papa Sheng pouted and looked at his wife. He thought that Mama Sheng would like this pair with him. A moment later, Master Xiao entered the living room. Everyone quickly stood up from the living room, because of his status as the head of the family. Master Xiao unbuttoned his suit jacket and turned to look at his daughter. There was a questioning look in his eyes, as if he was asking, "Where is everyone else?" Little Qi shrugged and did not answer. Sheng Xiao did not say anything else. He turned around and returned to the bedroom. A moment later, he changed into a set of home clothes and returned to the guests. Little Qi didn't feel good either. In fact, she had the courage to introduce He Yinji to her grandfather, but she also knew He Yinji's concerns soon. The family gathered around the dining table for the dinner. Papa Sheng was happy to see the two children and asked, "Xiao Xian, are you in love?" "Grandpa Sheng, I'm not," Tang Xiaobao asked. "Then why don't you come here more often recently? You and Wan Wan grew up together. No one else can compare to your feelings for each other." Mama Sheng pinched her husband's thigh hard under the table at Papa Sheng's words. To say, Papa Sheng grimaced. "You guys eat. Don't mind him." Mama Sheng quickly called out to everyone. Master, Xiao said. Xiao said. At this moment, Sheng Xiao put down his chopsticks and looked at his daughter. Could it be that his daughter could not even muster up this bit of courage? Little Qi put down her bowl and chopsticks, then pushed her chair away and left. She ran out of the banyan courtyard. Sure enough, she saw He Yinji's car at the iron gate. Chapter 1128. Little Qi rushed up and grabbed He Yinji's hand. She led him past the iron gate and directly into the Sheng family's hall. He Yinji was stunned, especially when he saw the people in the Sheng family's house. He did not expect little Qi to be so brave. "Grandpa, this is my boyfriend. Don't try to matchmake him." Little Qi introduced He Yinji to all the family members. Papa Sheng looked at the young man,
who suddenly appeared in the living room in shock. He looked at Sheng Xiao and his wife from left to right, and found that their expressions were normal. It was obvious that they already knew. He Yanji, on the other hand, was very nervous, but since he was here, he would take it easy. So he bowed slightly to Papa Sheng and said, "Happy birthday." Papa Sheng felt a little awkward, so he asked his wife in a low voice, "Why didn't you tell me earlier? You're the one who doesn't have good eyesight." "Come and sit," Sheng Xiao said and gestured for fifth aunt to add a chair next to little Qi. At times like this, He Yinji could always show off his good manners. No one could tell that he carried a dangerous and bandit aura. "Whose child is this?" Papa Sheng quickly asked when he saw the situation. "Grandpa Sheng, my name is He Yinji." He Yinji. Papa Sheng muttered the name. He felt that it was a little familiar, but he could not remember it for a while. "I feel like I've heard it somewhere before." How could he not have heard of the popular big shot in Jianchuan? Mama Sheng thought to herself. At that moment, Tang Xiaobao suddenly put down his bowl and chopsticks and asked He Yinji, "Do you dare to tell the Sheng family here what you do?" The atmosphere in the living room suddenly became tense because of Tang Xiaobao's words, especially between He Yinji and Tang Xiaobao. The grudge between them had not just been formed. "Young man, is there some misunderstanding?" Papa Sheng immediately tried to smooth things over. "Do you dare?" Tang Xiaobao did not go down the stairs. Instead, he continued to be aggressive. In contrast, He Yinji appeared much calmer. He stood up from his chair and bowed to everyone to apologize. He was very straightforward. "I'm very sorry. I'm from the underworld." Mixed. Dao. Papa Sheng was shocked when he heard this. He looked at Sheng Xiao. What was going on? Little Qi really could not bear to see Tang Xiaobao humiliate He Yinji like this. She stood up with a thud and said loudly, "Grandpa, He Yinji and I have known each other for 5 years. I'll tell you the truth. I've liked him for 5 years. No matter how the Sheng family views him, or his identity, I must be with him." Tang Xiaobao, I know that you have a strong sense of justice, and that you have an extraordinary background, but can you not force your way of thinking on others? Could it be that other people are different from what you think, that they don't walk the right path? What righteous path is he taking? Tang Xiaobao pointed at He Yinji and questioned little Qi. "Little Xian, go back and ask your father who did the meritorious deeds recently." Seeing that the situation was about to get out of control, Master Xiao immediately came out to control the situation. "Some things aren't what you think." Tang Xiaobao opened his mouth, but did not say anything, because he knew that since Master Xiao said that, there must be a reason behind it. I don't want to speak up for him, but there are some words that he can't say himself. Everyone understood what Master Xiao meant. It seemed that He Yinji's identity was not that simple. Even little Qi was shocked. Could it be that there was something He Yinji had not told her? Chapter 1129. Just as the atmosphere was getting awkward, Mu Qiqi pushed the door open and entered. When she saw the table full of people, she immediately smiled. "Fortunately, I came back in time. Yinji is here too." "Auntie." He Yinji stood up again and bowed respectfully. Mu Qiqi waved her hand and gestured for him to sit down. Then, she walked to Sheng Zhao's side and sat down. She asked curiously, "Why don't you all look well?" Tang Xiaobao knew that this matter had started because of him. So he said to He Yinji, "I admit that what I did just now was a little immoral, but I treat little Qi as my own sister. I don't want her to go astray. We grew up together. I know she suffered a lot for you. Uncle Xiao said that I'll think of a way to figure it out. If you don't change my mind, I still won't be able to change my attitude towards you. Do you still want to fight? I'll be waiting for you anytime." He Yinji smiled calmly. From this young man's words and actions, Papa Sheng could see his good points. He was neither fast nor slow, mature and steady. Even though he was treated like this, he could still restrain himself and be polite. It was no wonder that his son would speak up for him. Seeing that the atmosphere was gradually easing, little Qi also calmly sat down and said to Tang Xiaobao, "I know you're doing it for my own good. My attitude just now wasn't good. I'm used to it." Tang Xiaobao snorted. However, He was really curious about He Yanji, to be able to make Xing Xiao speak up for him. This kid might not be as simple as he seemed. This is considered a miracle in our Sheng family. I didn't expect eighth brother to tolerate having a son-in-law who's in the underworld. However, kid, I haven't approved of you. We still have to wait and see. Do you know how to play chess? Papa Xing suddenly asked. He Yanji nodded. A little. Accompany me later. Papa Sheng made the arrangements. He had to find out if this kid had anything in his stomach. Okay. He Yanji nodded and agreed. He had no intention of having stage fright at all. After dinner, He Yanji really accompanied Papa Sheng to play chess in the living room. At this time, little Qi saw the lonely Tang Xiaobao in the courtyard, so she walked behind Tang Xiaobao and poked his back. What's wrong? What does it feel like to like someone? Tang Xiaobao sat on the chair, not understanding. You have an ambiguous partner? Tang Xiaobao turned his head and rolled his eyes at her. It's because I find it inconceivable that you're willing to sacrifice your life for love. You'll know when you actually encounter it. Is that so? Tang Xiaobao murmured, then stood up from the chair. I'm going home to report. The next time you come, can you not be at odds with He Yanji? Little Qi asked his back. Depends on my mood. Tang Xiaobao did not turn around. He waved his hand, and his figure quickly disappeared at the end of the road. Little Qi returned to the living room, and saw an old man and a young man at the coffee table. They were working hard, and Papa Sheng would ask He Yanji many questions from time to time. From this, Papa Sheng was certain that He Yanji did not come from a simple background. He was completely different from those people from all walks of life. A person in a grassroots environment could not cultivate the aura of nobility. That kind of natural thing could only be formed in the circle of nobles. Especially when it came to the field of vision, men would only be able to grasp those things easily after they had truly seen it. I'm getting more and more curious about your true identity. Papa Sheng rubbed his chin and said to He Yanji while playing chess. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.